Chapter 1494. At the same time, the golden wolf also sensed the aura of a group of people. It opened its eyes, and two rays of ferocious light shot out. Seeing the golden wolf looking in his direction, the middle-aged man who had escaped earlier shrank his neck, and his face was full of fear. He hid behind a white-haired old man and stared at the golden wolf with resentment. He whispered, "Elder Gua, that's him." Although the white-haired old man was old and his face was full of wrinkles, his body was as straight as a sword, and he exuded a threatening aura. Especially his eyes, they were bright and full of expression, as sharp as the edge of a blade. Hearing the middle-aged man's words, the white-haired old man stopped and looked up at the golden wolf. The golden wolf turned its gaze and looked at the white-haired old man. The moment their gazes collided in the void, a murderous aura suddenly appeared. "Why did you hurt my companions?" The white-haired old man spoke in an extremely cold tone. "They broke into my territory and touched the divine infant tree. Shouldn't they be killed? Even if it's you, old bastard, who dares to touch the divine infant tree, I will kill you without hesitation." The golden wolf slowly stood up. The white-haired old man was strong enough. However, its attitude and tone were even stronger than the white-haired old man's. It did not take the old man seriously at all. The white-haired old man glanced at the divine infant tree behind the golden wolf, and his eyes were full of greed. Boom! He did not say anything else and spoke with his actions. A terrifying emperor aura appeared and swept across the sky like an invisible torrent, rushing toward the golden wolf. "You'd better put away your arrogance in front of me." The golden wolf smiled coldly, and his battle chi rolled out to protect the divine infant tree. Then, the peak 9-star combat emperor aura erupted like a volcano and collided with the white-haired old man's emperor aura. Seeing this, an old man in black hurriedly said, 9-star combat emperors, retreat." Hearing this, the 29-star combat emperors, including the middle-aged man, quickly retreated. Boom! Just as everyone retreated, the emperor aura and the ferocious emperor aura collided. In an instant, the sky changed color, and the wind howled. The earth trembled as if there was a huge earthquake, and the abyss quickly spread out. Puff! The white-haired old man and the golden wolf spat out a mouthful of blood at the same time, and both were forced 3 steps back. The white-haired old man in white raised his wrinkled, eagle-claw-like hand and touched the blood on his fingertips. His eyes became colder. Suddenly, he looked up at the golden wolf and said, "You can actually compete with me. You're really not simple. You are flattering me." The golden wolf snickered and pointed at the middle-aged man. Compared to him, this king is indeed much stronger. The old man in white was stunned. He turned around and looked at the middle-aged man. Then, he looked at the golden wolf suspiciously and asked, "What do you mean?" The golden wolf sneered, "No matter how cruel this emperor is, at least this king will not betray his own companions." The old man in white raised his eyebrows and turned to look at the middle-aged man again. Being stared at by so many eyes, the middle-aged man couldn't help but panic. Because he knew what the golden wolf was going to say. The middle-aged man rolled his eyes and looked at the white-haired old man. "Old Gua, don't listen to that beast's nonsense." "Nonsense? Who was the one who killed his companion not long ago?" The golden wolf laughed. "What do you mean? Speak clearly." Old Gua stared at the golden wolf and shouted. In the distance, Dan Wongkai murmured, "This beast is smart. It knows how to sow discord. Which dire beast of this level would be an idiot?" Wang Yuer whispered. "Yes. Some people are worse than beasts." Dan Wongkai laughed. Wang Yuer glanced at Dan Wongkai and said, "Don't be so sarcastic. Although some of them are from my main pagoda, they have nothing to do with me. A woman's heart is the most vicious." Dan Wongkai sighed secretly. She didn't even care when her companion was in trouble. Why didn't he notice before that this woman was so ruthless? Could it be because young master had hurt her last time, causing her personality to change drastically? From a goddess that everyone loved, to a demoness? Speak clearly? Okay, I'll make it clear to you. The golden wolf pointed at the middle-aged man, his eyes full of disdain. He used lies to confuse his companions and used his companions' bodies as meat shields to create an opportunity for himself to escape. Otherwise, do you think he could escape from me with his pitiful strength? Is what he said true? The white-haired old man immediately turned and stared at the middle-aged man. No, I didn't do it. It's lying. Please believe in me. The middle-aged man shook his head and roared. Sigh. I really feel sorry for that woman. She trusted you so much, but you plotted against her behind her back. Humans, as expected, are all sanctimonious villains. The golden wolf shook its head and sighed. The middle-aged man was furious. He roared at the golden wolf. Beast, are you done? I'm just telling the truth. To be honest, I quite admire you. You're ruthless. However, aren't you afraid that her soul will come after you? The golden wolf said. She wouldn't dare. The middle-aged man roared in exasperation. However, as soon as he said that, his expression changed slightly. Wasn't that equivalent to confessing without being pressed? He quickly looked at the white-haired old man and found that the white-haired old man's expression had changed. There was a hint of murderous intent in his old eyes. He looked at the others. The others were also staring at him angrily. The middle-aged man's body suddenly turned cold. He looked at the smug golden wolf and roared, Bastard, you schemed against me. So what if I schemed against you? The golden wolf sneered and looked at the white-haired old man. Actually, the other three were killed by him. What? The white-haired old man's eyes trembled. He immediately looked at the middle-aged man and shouted, You should be punished for murdering your companion. I really didn't, the middle-aged man said anxiously. Why are you talking nonsense with this kind of scum? The old man in black who had told everyone to retreat snorted from his nose. He was also a super expert at the peak of the 9-star War Emperor realm. Shwa! He stepped on the perfect auxiliary battle technique and rushed in front of the middle-aged man. Without saying a word, he raised his big hand and slapped the middle-aged man's head. Battle chi surged in his palm. A shocking killing intent drowned the middle-aged man. No! The middle-aged man knelt on the ground and begged. However, the old man in black had no intention of stopping. His eyes were as cold as the god of death. Seeing this, the middle-aged man immediately laughed angrily. His eyes flashed with incomparable madness. You bastards, if you don't let me live, I won't let you have it easy either. He roared. A destructive aura rushed out from his body. In the next moment, his physical body exploded in the void. Self-destruct. The old man in black's expression changed and he roared, Run! The group of people turned around and fled, including the white-haired old man. They did not expect the middle-aged man to self-destruct his physical body. Are you kidding me? Again. Fire Qilin, Dan Wang Kai, and Wang Yuer also changed their expressions and fled with all their might. Boom. Crack. Ah! Destructive airwaves roared in all directions. The old man in black and his group were the first to bear the brunt. The 20-odd 9-star war emperors were swallowed by the airwaves one after another. Without any suspense, their blood splattered on the spot. In the end, not even a strand of hair was left. Only desperate screams were left, echoing between heaven and earth and lingering for a long time. Damn it! The old man in black and a group of super experts at the peak of the 9-star war emperor realm all roared angrily. Although their cultivation had reached the peak, the middle-aged man's self-destruction was too sudden. They did not have time to evacuate at all. The airwaves covered the sky and earth, destroying everything. The group of people was so anxious that they were about to explode. Beside the spiritual infant tree, the golden wolf stood proudly on the ground and looked at this scene coldly. In the void above its head, a big golden bough had appeared out of nowhere. The big bough looked as if it was made of gold. Rays of divine light fell down, protecting the golden wolf and the spiritual infant tree. That surging wave of air was actually completely blocked outside. That divine power has appeared again. Dan Wang Kai, who was fleeing, was shocked. Wang Yuer was also energized. On the other side, Fire Qilin's eyes were also shining brightly. However, the two men and the beast did not dare to look back. Of course, they could not see anything clearly now. Because the area around the spiritual infant tree was now covered in dust and a storm swept across the void and earth. As the two men and the beast were relatively far from the center of the explosion, they were lucky to escape in the end. However, they were also severely injured. It would be difficult for them to recover without a period of time. However, the old man in black and old Gua were not so lucky. After the 9-star war emperors were all killed, they were swallowed by the airwaves one by one. In the end, only the old man in black and old Gua were lucky enough to survive. Unfortunately, although they had escaped, their sea of chi was shattered and their sea of consciousness was also broken. His body was also covered in wounds, lying on the broken ground, unconscious. In other words, they were now 2 disabled people. Even if they woke up now, they would not be able to do much. But Golden Wolf, because of the protection of the divine bow, he was still in peak condition. Time passed quietly. The explosion of the middle-aged man gradually subsided. Boom! Suddenly, in the dust, there was a series of loud noises. The sound was deep and powerful, but it was very rhythmic. It was like a beast was pacing and the ground was shaking. The old man in white and the old man in black also quivered and opened their eyes at the same time. Their originally sharp eyes were now full of weakness. The moment they woke up, they raised their heads and looked in the direction of the loud noises. The dust and smoke had not completely dissipated. However, they could vaguely see that a beast was approaching them bit by bit. Quick! The 2 hurriedly got up, turned around, and ran forward with weak steps. They had already exhausted all their strength, but their speed was still as slow as a snail. The rumbling sound was getting closer and closer. The 2 men were burning with anxiety and their blood-stained old faces were full of panic. "Where are you going?" Suddenly, a loud voice sounded from the dust and smoke behind them. The 2 men turned around and immediately collapsed on the ground. A sense of hopelessness surged in their hearts. A golden beast gradually appeared. If it was not Golden Wolf, who else could it be? It revealed its true form. Its body was as huge as a mountain and it walked out of the dust and smoke step by step. As for the divine bow, it had left it with the spiritual infant tree to continue protecting it. However, at this moment, even without the divine bow, Golden Wolf's strength was enough to make them feel hopeless. In the end, Golden Wolf stopped in front of the 2 men. There was only a distance of about 10 meters between them. "I only used a little trick, but I didn't expect you to be completely wiped out. Are you humans also stupid?" It looked down at the black-clothed old man and the white-clothed old man like a hunter looking at 2 prey. Its eyes were also full of mockery. The 2 men were filled with regret. Especially the old man in black. If he had not tried to kill the middle-aged man, the middle-aged man would not have self-destructed. If the middle-aged man did not self-destruct, how would they have ended up like this? However, there was no medicine for regret in this world. He never thought that the middle-aged man would self-destruct. Because he was confident. Killing the middle-aged man was as easy as flipping his hand. There would be no accidents. However, he never thought that because of his momentary happiness, it would lead to such a disaster, causing everyone and himself to fall into eternal damnation. Golden Wolf glanced at the 2 men and opened its mouth. Those white fangs made the 2 men's scalps go numb. "Wait!" the old man in white suddenly said. Golden Wolf was stunned. It did not stop and directly bit at the 2 men. The old man in white anxiously shouted, "Let us go and we'll give you pills." "Give me pills? How funny. When I devour you, your Chenkuan bags will naturally be mine." Golden Wolf sneered. The old man in white froze. Seeing that Golden Wolf's bloody mouth was already in front of him, the old man in black suddenly said, "We can pledge our loyalty to you." The old man in white was stunned and quickly nodded. "Yes, yes, yes. As long as you let us go, we'll be your servants and serve you for the rest of our lives." "Servants?" Golden Wolf was slightly stunned. It looked at the 2 men for a moment and finally closed its mouth slowly. Seeing that, the 2 men could not help but wipe their sweat. "Be my servants?" Golden Wolf looked at the 2 men and pondered for a while before nodding. "That's a good suggestion." The 2 men looked at each other and a glimmer of hope burned in their eyes. "However, you humans are all insidious and cunning creatures. I don't dare to believe your words easily." Golden Wolf said again. "We swear." The 2 men hurriedly said. "Swear." Golden Wolf was stunned and sneered. "If we were in the same situation now, would you believe my oath?" "Yes, yes, yes." The 2 men nodded repeatedly. "Yes, my ass. Don't play this game with me." Golden Wolf shouted angrily, a fierce light flashing in its eyes. The 2 men shrank their necks and asked, "Then what do you want to believe us?" "I only believe in myself." Golden Wolf laughed and a light flickered on its chest. A palm-sized mark gradually formed, emitting an obscure force. If Fire Qilin, Dan Wang Kai, and Wang Yu were here, they would definitely be shocked by this scene. Because this mark was the mark of the Blood Soul technique. The old man in black and the old man in white were dumbfounded. They also recognized the Blood Soul technique. In their hearts they could not believe it. This beast actually mastered the Blood Soul technique? What a joke. Chapter 1495. Are you surprised? Are you surprised? The Golden Wolf looked at them mockingly. Their faces were filled with despair. They were just pretending to compromise. They would find a chance to escape after they repaired their Sea of Qi and Sea of Consciousness. The Golden Wolf had mastered the Blood Soul technique. They were both oracles of the main tower and naturally knew the power of the Blood Soul technique. Once they were controlled, the Golden Wolf could destroy their bloodline power with just a thought. If their bloodline power was destroyed, what was the difference between them and a dead person? In other words, once they were controlled by the Blood Soul technique, they would be slaves for the rest of their lives. And they would be slaves to a beast. Most humans had a mind of their own. Humans were born to be superior to beasts, so their self-esteem could not bear it. This was a disgrace. The Golden Wolf glanced at them and said playfully, "Look at you. You don't seem to be willing." No. It's our honor to serve you." The two quickly waved their hands. Between life and self-esteem, they finally gave up their self-esteem and chose life. "You know what's good for you. If you dared to hesitate just now, I would have killed you." The Golden Wolf laughed. The two Blood Soul technique marks turned into a stream of light and disappeared into their bodies in the blink of an eye. The Blood Soul technique was quickly completed. "From now on, you are all my human pets. Call me Master for me to hear." The Golden Wolf looked at them domineeringly. The two looked at each other and quickly got up. They bowed and said, "Greetings, Master." "Not bad, not bad. It has always been us beasts who have been servants in front of you humans. Now, I have broken the tradition. Two human pets who are peak 9-star combat emperors. It's so cool to bring them out. Awesome. Hand over your Chenkuan pouches to this king." The Golden Wolf laughed. The two quickly took out their Chenkuan bags and respectfully handed them to the Golden Wolf. The Golden Wolf did not check. He waved his paw and directly put the two Chenkuan bags into his Sea of Qi. The two's expressions changed. They quickly said, "Master, we still need pills to repair our Sea of Qi and Sea of Consciousness." The Golden Wolf turned a deaf ear. He turned around and walked toward the spiritual infant tree. The two looked at each other and quickly chased after the Golden Wolf. A short while later, the Golden Wolf walked in front of the spiritual infant tree and shrunk its body to about a meter long. It raised its head and looked at the golden bough above the spiritual infant tree. That is, when the black-clothed old man and the white-haired old man saw the divine bough, their pupils constricted. It was actually a divine artifact. "Do you know how powerful I am now? Even if that human didn't self-destruct, it would be easy for me to kill you all," Golden Wolf said proudly. I know. The two of them nodded repeatedly. Who would have thought that this bastard actually had a divine artifact? It was no wonder that they dared to be so arrogant. When most of the aftershock from the explosion had dissipated, the Golden Wolf put away its divine bough and lay down under the nascent soul tree, closing its eyes and taking a nap. "Master, what about our Sea of Qi and Sea of Consciousness?" Seeing that the Golden Wolf still refused to give them the Spirit Sea pills and Essence Soul pills, the two of them asked again, "Is this how you beg someone? Do you need this prince to teach you?" The Golden Wolf didn't open his eyes, and his tone was incomparably cold. The two of them looked at each other and knelt on the ground. They said respectfully, "Master, please grant us the Spiritual Sea pill and Essence Soul pill." "That's right. A servant should act like a servant. Don't make me remind you in the future, understand?" The Golden Wolf opened his eyes and snorted at the two of them. Yes. The two of them nodded. The Golden Wolf smiled proudly and a Chenkuan bag appeared. He looked at the two of them and said, "One each. Don't take more than that." "Yes." The two of them replied respectfully. They each found a Spirit Sea pill, Essence Soul pill, and Healing pill. They really didn't dare to take more than one. After taking the pills, The two of them respectfully returned the Xueqi bag to the golden wolf. What's going on? There are only two left? And why are they so respectful to the golden wolf? At this moment, Dan Wangkai and Wang Yue lurked over again and looked at the old man in black and the white-haired old man with surprise. On the other side, the fire Qilin lurked behind a pile of rocks with a trace of suspicion in its eyes. After the golden wolf put away the Xueqi bag, he closed his eyes and took a nap again. The old man in black and the white-haired old man also sat cross-legged beside the golden wolf, repairing their sea of qi and sea of consciousness. For a moment, this place fell into a dead silence. About an hour passed. The two of them opened their eyes and a terrifying aura roared out. They had already recovered to their peak state. The injuries on their bodies were basically healed. What are you doing? Don't you know that I'm sleeping? The golden wolf suddenly opened its eyes and said angrily. Sorry, Master. The two of them trembled and quickly withdrew their aura. What? Master? The fire Qilin, Dan Wangkai, and Wang Yue were dumbfounded. What was going on? They actually called the golden wolf master? Was this a dream? Under the nascent soul tree. The golden wolf glanced at the two of them fiercely and then closed its eyes again. The two of them exhaled, their faces full of fear. The white-haired old man glanced around and looked at the golden wolf. He asked cautiously, Master, can I ask you a question? Speak. The golden wolf said. The white-haired old man said, How do you know the blood soul technique? The old man in black also looked at it suspiciously. The golden wolf was silent for a while and said casually, Once, I encountered a human corpse, and the blood soul technique was found in his Xueqi bag. So that's how it is. The two of them suddenly understood. Didn't you come here to look for treasures? Let me tell you, there are many treasures here. For example, I have collected a large box of perfect battle arts over the years. There are at least 50 to 60 of them. The golden wolf said proudly. So many? Then, where are those perfect battle arts now? The two of them were dumbfounded. 50 to 60 perfect battle arts. Oh my God! This was too crazy. Those perfect battle arts are now with my brother. If you want, wait for him to come. I will ask him to give you more than 10. The golden wolf said. Thank you, Master. The two of them hurriedly knelt on the ground and thanked him. The golden wolf said disdainfully, Just perfect battle arts and you are so happy. How unambitious. The two of them looked at each other and said to the golden wolf, Master, do you have other divine arts? Of course. However, my brother has already cultivated the divine art. You have no chance. The golden wolf said lightly. Master, do you cultivate any divine arts? The old man in black asked. I don't. Back then, my brother and I accidentally found a divine treasure. There was a divine artifact and a divine art inside. I chose the divine artifact at that time, so I naturally gave the divine art to my brother. The golden wolf said. Divine artifact. Divine art. The two of them were shocked. At the same time, the fire Qilin and Dan Wangkai were also extremely shocked. Not only was there a divine artifact, but there was also a divine art? Oh my God! Fortunately, they did not rush to snatch the divine infant tree. Otherwise, they would have ended up like those two. It was not until now that they understood. It turned out that the old man in black and the white-haired old man were controlled by the golden wolf's blood soul technique. Dan Wangkai turned to look at Wang Yue and said in a low voice, Miss Yue, the people from the main tower don't seem to be very good. They're really a disgrace to the main tower. Wang Yue snorted and stared at the two old men. Her eyes were filled with a sharp light. She naturally understood the mockery in Dan Wangkai's words. He was mocking the people from the main tower for being spineless. And she could not refute that. Because that was the truth. Dan Wangkai narrowed his eyes and said with a smile, But this matter also has something to do with you. Has something to do with me? Wang Yue was stunned and looked at him in confusion. Of course. If you had warned them earlier, they wouldn't have killed each other and led to the annihilation of the entire team. Those two people naturally wouldn't have been controlled by the golden wolf. Dan Wangkai said. He was obviously trying to provoke Wang Yue. But Wang Yue was not moved at all. She said coldly, Everyone has their own fate. This is their fate. Everyone has their own fate. I really underestimated you in the past. Miss you, Dan Wangkai said. Wang Yuer said, time will change everything, including people's hearts. Dan Wangkai shook his head. It seemed that because of the young master's incident, this woman was really hurt. Otherwise, she would not say such words now. Whoosh! Suddenly, from the right, there was another burst of air-piercing sounds. Dan Wangkai turned around and saw 3 silhouettes dashing over from afar. They were 2 men and a woman, middle-aged. Their cultivation was at the 9-star War Emperor level. There was also a flame symbol on the clothes on their chests. Obviously, they were the oracles of the main tower. Someone else is coming. It seems that there will be no peace here today. Dan Wangkai sighed. Wang Yuer's expression remained unchanged. No one knew what she was thinking at this moment. At the same time, the Golden Wolf and the Old Man in Black also sensed the aura of the 3 people. It's them. When they turned and looked up, their eyes trembled slightly when they saw the 2 men and the woman. They obviously knew them. Seeing the 2 men and the woman getting closer and closer, the Old Man in Black's eyes were full of anxiety. He transmitted his voice. Old Gua, quickly remind them secretly not to let them come over. Why should we remind them? When we were in trouble, why didn't anyone come out to help us? The white-haired old man snorted. Chapter 1496. Hearing the white-haired old man's words, the black-haired old man's pupils constricted. Do you want to drag them down with you? The white-haired old man didn't deny it. You're crazy. What good will it do us to drag them down with us? Do you really want to be a slave for this beast for the rest of your life? Old Gua, I know you're not feeling good right now, but you can't do something that's disadvantageous to the main tower. Your mentality right now is very bad. You're in trouble, and you want others to be in trouble with you. You have to remember that no matter what situation you're in, you're still a member of the main tower. The black-haired old man said angrily. The white-haired old man's body trembled. What's the use of reminding them now? Can they help us get out of trouble? Nonsense. Of course they can. As long as they don't fall into the Golden Wolf's hands, they can find the Temple Master. When the Temple Master learns about our situation, he'll definitely summon people to save us. The black-haired old man said. The Temple Master he was talking about was Gong Sun Bei. Temple Master. The white-haired old man pondered for a while and sighed. The Golden Wolf has a divine artifact. Even if the Temple Master summons people, he won't be able to save us. Give up. You. This old man really misjudged you. I didn't expect you to be such a person. Whether the Temple Master can save us or not, we have to try, right? The black-haired old man said angrily. If the Golden Wolf wasn't next to him, he would have turned hostile on the spot. The white-haired old man also had a trace of hostility. He turned to look at the Golden Wolf and pointed at the black-haired old man. Master. He asked me to secretly warn those 3 people. Old Gua you? The black-haired old man looked at the white-haired old man in disbelief. He actually betrayed him? The Golden Wolf was slightly stunned. He glanced at the black-haired old man, then looked at the white-haired old man and asked curiously, Is that so? How did he ask you to warn those 3 people? The white-haired old man said, He asked me to secretly tell them to leave this place immediately and gather people to deal with you. Bastard! The black-haired old man roared in anger. The 2 men and 1 woman who were rushing over also heard the old man's roar and were slightly stunned. When he raised his head and saw the black-clothed old man and the white-haired old man, he was pleasantly surprised. Elder Gua, Elder Yu. The 3 of them shouted as they ran. They also saw the Golden Wolf. However, at this moment, the Golden Wolf was lying on the ground motionlessly with its aura restrained. They thought that it was a spirit pet that Elder Gua and Elder Gua had subdued at the miracle. Of course, they couldn't be blamed for being stupid. Anyone who saw this scene would think the same. Because no one would think that dire beasts could be above humans. In this world, there were only spirit pets and no human pets. The Golden Wolf glanced at the 2 men and the woman, then glanced at the old man in black and said, Although this king is very angry now, this king still wants to give you another chance. The white-haired old man raised his eyebrows in dissatisfaction. He had thought that the Golden Wolf would kill the black-clothed old man directly, but he didn't expect that he would give him a chance. The black-clothed old man was also quite surprised. He looked at the golden wolf and said, "What chance?" The golden wolf said, "Kill them with your own hands, and this king will spare your life. This is your last chance. You have to think carefully." The black-clothed old man's face changed when he heard this. In the end, he gritted his teeth and rushed toward the two men and the woman with a murderous aura. The white-clothed old man looked at the back of the black-clothed old man with murderous intent in his eyes. He turned to the golden wolf and asked, "Master, are you really going to let him go? Do you think it's possible? After killing those 3 people, this king will immediately destroy his bloodline power and let him have a taste of betraying this king." The golden wolf said. So Master first gave him hope and then let him despair. The white-haired old man nodded in realization. Yes. Only after killing them will you know that you can't escape death in the end. What can be more torturous than this? The golden wolf laughed. Master is wise. At that time, I think he will definitely collapse. The white-haired old man smiled flatteringly. You are very good. This king likes you very much. Don't worry, as long as you are this king's human pet, this king will not treat you badly. The golden wolf looked at the white-haired old man and said, "Thank you, master." The white-haired old man hurriedly bowed and thanked him. What a bastard. He's worse than a dog. Dan Wangkai stared at the white-haired old man with a face full of disgust. There were many shameless people in this world, but it was the first time he had seen such a shameless person. As for the black-clothed old man, at this moment, he was only half a mile away from the 2 men and the woman. Elder Yu, we finally found you. One of the middle-aged men looked at the black-clothed old man from afar and laughed loudly. Elder Yu did not answer. He glanced at the golden wolf and the white-haired old man from the corner of his eyes and suddenly shouted to the 2 men and the woman, "Don't come any closer, quickly run. We have been controlled by the golden wolf's blood soul technique. It sent me to kill you." What? The 2 men and the woman were stunned. Controlled by the blood soul technique? How could it be? Dan Wangkai was also stunned. He looked at the black-clothed old man and muttered to himself, "This person still has some conscience." Quick! The black-clothed old man roared. Elder Yu, don't joke around. Your cultivation is so strong. How could you be controlled by a wolf cub? The 2 men and the woman laughed. This old man is not joking. Quickly run, otherwise it will be too late. The black-clothed old man shouted anxiously. This. Looking at Elder Yu's expression, it seems that he is not joking with us? The 2 men and the woman looked at each other and raised their heads at the same time. They found that the golden wolf had already stood up with a fierce light in its eyes. Whoosh! The 3 of them immediately turned around and fled in panic. Their hearts were filled with disbelief. As the divine envoys of the main pagoda, they knew that the white-haired old man and the black-clothed old man were peak 9-star combat emperors. How could they be controlled by the golden wolf? The black-clothed old man roared, "Find the palace master. You must tell him to be careful of that bastard Elder Gua. He has betrayed our main pagoda." Elder Gua betrayed the main pagoda? Waves of shock surged in the hearts of the 3. Just as the black-clothed old man finished speaking, a destructive aura suddenly rushed out from his body. Damn, he is going to self-destruct again. Dan Wangkai's expression changed and he immediately turned around to flee. But just as he turned around, the destructive aura suddenly dissipated, and at the same time, a painful scream was heard. Dan Wangkai looked back and saw that the black-clothed old man's blood vessels had burst and blood was spurting out. He looked like a man made of blood. "It's the golden wolf," Wang Yuer said. Dan Wangkai looked at the golden wolf again. It turned out that the golden wolf had activated the blood soul technique and destroyed the black-clothed old man's bloodline power. "How dare you disobey in front of this king? You are courting death. Go and capture those 3 people alive for this king. As for this old man, this king will teach him a lesson." The golden wolf smiled ferociously and walked towards the black-clothed old man step by step. This is the price of being smart. The white-haired old man glanced at the black-clothed old man. There was no sympathy in his eyes. Instead, there was a trace of ridicule. Then, he used the perfect auxiliary technique and chased after the 2 men and the woman like lightning. The black-clothed old man lay on the ground, staring at the white-haired old man, and roared, "Old Gua, if you still have some humanity, don't hurt them." What is humanity? Right now, I just want to try my best to live. The white-haired old man said without turning his head. You beast! How can there be a scum like you in my main pagoda? Shame! The black-clothed old man roared in grief. Bang! Suddenly, the golden wolf stepped on the black-clothed old man and shouted, Shut up for this king! Just you wait, you will die a horrible death. The black-clothed old man roared with resentment. The golden wolf laughed and lowered his head, revealing his fangs, and laughed. This king wants to see how much backbone you have. Finished. It bit the black-clothed old man's right arm and tore it off. His methods were extremely cruel. Ah! The heart-wrenching pain caused the black-clothed old man to scream non-stop. But from beginning to end, he did not lower his head, nor did he beg for mercy. Dan Wong-kai looked at this scene and could not help but admire the black-clothed old man. Originally, seeing the black-clothed old man submit to the golden wolf, he was a little annoyed, but now he knew that this person was still a person with a bottom line and courage. Compared to the white-haired old man, he was thousands or tens of thousands of times stronger. Not bad, you actually endured it, but the more painful part is still to come. How long can you last? The golden wolf swallowed the arm that was torn off, licked its mouth, and then bit the black-clothed old man's left arm. Bastard, come at me! If this old man frowns, he's not my father and mother's son. The black-clothed old man roared. A fierce light flashed in the golden wolf's eyes, and it was about to tear off the black-clothed old man's left arm. Sigh! But at this moment, a sigh rang out. The golden wolf raised its eyebrows and looked in the direction of the sound. Chapter 1497. Immediately, in everyone's line of sight, a white-haired youth walked out from behind a pile of rocks. How could it be him? Everyone present, except for the golden wolf, had a change of expression. This person was tall and straight, and his eyebrows were as sharp as swords. His long hair danced in the wind. His cultivation was not strong, but he was a 6-star combat emperor. However, just by standing there, he was like a god that had descended, giving off a great sense of oppression. Lu Xingqian, Dan Wong-kai murmured, and his eyes flashed coldly. That's right. The owner of the Sai was Lu Xingqian. 6-star combat emperor? The golden wolf saw through Lu Xingqian's cultivation and was stunned. It then stood up and said sarcastically, Are you here to die? Die. Lu Xingqian was taken aback. He took a step forward and leisurely walked toward the golden wolf and the old man in black. He chuckled and said, Death is too far away for me. Ah! The golden wolf was stunned. A mere 6-star combat emperor dared to be so arrogant in front of it? Lu Xingqian lowered his head and looked at the old man in black. He then looked up at the golden wolf and said, I admire this person, so I plan to take him under my wing. Me? The old man in black was stunned. Yes. A talent like you can only use your full strength by following me. Now, as long as you agree, I will kill it immediately and give you back your freedom. Lu Xingqian said. His tone was casual, as if he was talking about something very easy. Kill me? The golden wolf was stunned. It then raised its head and laughed as if it had heard the funniest joke in the world. Lu Xingqian glanced at it, then looked at the old man in black and said, Follow me, and I will make sure you become a deity. Make your decision. Become a deity. The old man in black's eyes trembled. He hesitated for a moment and nodded. Following you is better than being bullied by a beast. I agree. Very good. Lu Xingqian faintly smiled. A strand of spiritual energy emerged and shot across the sky like lightning towards Jean Lang's forehead. What? Divine sense. The golden wolf, who was still laughing, immediately changed its expression when it saw the divine sense. Clang. The divine bow appeared again. The golden light shone brightly in the sky. Boom. Under the golden wolf's control, the divine bow shook the void and attacked the divine sense. There was a loud explosion. The divine bow of divine sense. His divine sense, however, was unharmed. After repelling the divine bow, he swept up the black-robed old man and returned to Lu Xingqian's side. The golden wolf took a few steps back and gloomily stared at Lu Xingqian. You actually have such a powerful divine sense. Who are you? I don't think so. I can only say that your divine artifact is not strong enough. Lu Xingqian's eyes were full of disdain. In today's world, The only divine artifacts that could truly make him fearful were pale snow and the ancient castle. As for the divine bow in front of him, compared to pale snow and the ancient castle, it was many levels lower. He didn't care about it at all. With a wave of his hand, 3 strands of divine sense flew out from the top of his head and charged toward the golden wolf with terrifying power. How can this be? Isn't the first level of the divine sight only accessible to combat emperors? Why is Lu Xingqian here? He can even use divine sense. Dan Wangkai mumbled with a face full of suspicion. There's only one reason. The first level of the divine rule only recognizes the cultivation level. Although Lu Xingqian has divine sense, his cultivation level is only that of a 6-star combat emperor. Wang Yuer thought for a while and sent a telepathic message. Then who can be his opponent? Dan Wangkai raised his eyebrows. Roar! While the two were talking, the golden wolf suddenly roared and stood up. Human, don't be too arrogant. Battle chi surged out of his body and rushed toward the divine bow. Clang! In the next moment, a black-gray arrow was condensed and formed. The black light flashed and exuded a destructive aura. Kill! The golden wolf roared angrily. It was as if an invisible hand had grabbed the arrow and pulled the divine bow. Whoosh! Suddenly, the arrow shot out and its power shook the heavens as it blasted toward the 3 divine senses. Retreat! Seeing this, Dan Wangkai immediately turned around and slipped away. Wang Yuer and the fire Qilin on the other side did not dare to delay and quickly left. What a joke! The collision between the divine sense and the divine weapon was more terrifying than the self-destruction of a 9-star combat emperor. If they did not leave this place quickly, they would definitely lose their lives. At the same time, Lu Xingqian waved his hand and sent the old man in black into the divine item. Then, he turned into a ray of light and flew toward the spiritual infant tree. Such a big spiritual infant tree was comparable to an ultimate treasure. Moreover, he also had the pill formula of the congealing pill. Naturally, he could not let the spiritual infant tree be destroyed. In your dreams. The golden wolf roared again and again. A wave of battle chi surged out and turned into a giant black hand. It grabbed the spiritual infant tree and uprooted it. How dare you? Lu Xingqian shouted. This is mine to begin with. The golden wolf sneered and opened its wide mouth, sucking the spiritual infant tree into its mouth. Boom! At the same time, in the void, the arrow and the 3 divine senses collided. A world-destroying aura suddenly appeared. With this place as the center, it rolled out in all directions, destroying everything in its path. Poof! The golden wolf spat out a mouthful of blood. Its huge body flew out and smashed into the ground with a bang. A huge crater immediately appeared. Dust flew everywhere, covering the sky and the sun. At the same time, Lu Xingqian was also sent flying, and a stream of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Then he looked at the arrow and the 3 divine senses. The 2 madly collided in the void and made a deafening sound. Crack! But in the end, the arrow shattered. As for the 3 strands of divine sense, only one of them dissipated. The remaining 2 strands of divine sense didn't stop at all and headed straight for the golden wolf. Murderous intent filled the sky. Lu Xingqian's expression was gloomy. It was not hard to tell that he really wanted to kill. However, although the golden wolf suffered a few losses in the hands of Lu Xingqian, its aura was even more terrifying. Roar! It roared and got up. The blood chi in its body surged and a blood-colored arrow condensed with a clang. The moment the arrow appeared, the sky changed color and a strong wind rose from the ground, roaring in all directions. The aura and sharpness it emitted were several times more terrifying than the arrow earlier. This king's ability to dominate a region is not an undeserved reputation. The golden wolf cackled and the divine bow shone with a golden light. Whoosh! The blood-colored arrow tore through the air. A torrential bloodlight. From afar, it looked like a blood dragon with shocking divine might. Boom! Accompanied by an earth-shattering sound, the blood arrow and the 2 divine senses collided. The scene was like 2 comets colliding in the sky. The divine light that erupted even covered the radiance of the 10 suns in the sky. Poof! This time round, a wisp of Lu Xingqian's divine sense was shattered instantly and blood spewed out. It's so strong. His gaze trembled. It seemed like he had underestimated the golden wolf. It was using its own blood chi to forcefully revive the divine bow. Rumble! Boom! The remaining divine sense and the blood-colored arrow collided continuously and destructive waves rolled in all directions. How terrifying! Fortunately, we left in time. Otherwise we would have died. On the peak of a gigantic mountain in the distance, Dan Wangkai and Wang Yuer stood side by side. They looked at the surging air wave with fear. As the air wave surged, the gigantic mountain beneath their feet began to shake violently. Retreat again. Chapter 1498. Not only Dan Wangkai, but the fire Qilin also retreated again and again. After 2 self-detonations, coupled with the arrival of Lu Xingchen, the water source was almost destroyed. However, although the mountains and rivers were broken, the temperature here was still very cool. Boom! A moment passed. Lu Xingchen's remaining divine consciousness finally decided the winner with the blood-colored arrow. The final result was that the blood-colored arrow was defeated and the divine consciousness won. Lu Xingchen took a few steps back, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, looked at the golden wolf that was sent flying, and said, "Burning blood to revive the bow, aren't you afraid of burning yourself?" Hee. This king's strength is not something you can imagine. The golden wolf laughed. Qi and blood surged out like a tide, continuously surging towards the golden divine bow. Clang! The divine bow trembled, and the divine power became more and more amazing. Lu Xingchen raised his eyebrows and shouted, "You are courting death." The minimum requirement to revive a divine artifact was to break through to the pseudo-god realm. But even a pseudo-god would be greatly injured after reviving a divine artifact and would need to rest for several days to recover. Not to mention a 9-star war emperor. Although the golden wolf's cultivation had reached the peak and was only 1 step away from the pseudo-god realm, the difference between the two was like heaven and earth. The golden wolf's actions were undoubtedly courting death. After that, Lu Xingchen did not confront the golden wolf directly. Because using blood to revive a divine artifact would not last long. Whether it was a human or a beast, blood was limited. Once blood was exhausted, even if a god descended to the mortal world, there would be no saving him. Most importantly, using blood to forcefully revive a divine artifact would result in a backlash from the divine artifact. In other words, the divine artifact would take the initiative to plunder blood from the master's body, and it could not be interrupted until the master died. So, Lu Xingchen's plan was not to fight, to avoid the risk of losing his divine consciousness, and to slowly deal with the golden wolf, waiting for the golden wolf to bury himself. However, as time passed, the golden wolf did not show any signs of weakness, but instead became more and more vigorous. It felt as if the blood in its body was endless. What's going on? Lu Xingchen was bewildered. As everyone knew, burning one's vitality was equivalent to burning one's lifespan. As his qi and blood were depleted, he would slowly show signs of aging. But now, the golden wolf's appearance had not changed at all. It was still as strong and lively as before. Don't think that I don't know your intentions. You want to waste time with me? How naive. The golden wolf's eyes were filled with mockery. Rumble. Crack. The battle continued. Gradually. Lu Xingchen actually felt a sense of pressure. The injuries on his body also increased and became more and more serious. In the end, he could no longer avoid the battle and had no choice but to launch some counterattacks. Time passed quickly. 6 to 8 hours have already passed. How long are they going to fight for? In the distance, the fire Qilin and Dan Wangkai were both dumbfounded. The battle between Lu Xingchen and the golden wolf had already lasted for 6 to 8 hours, but it still showed no signs of ending. Originally, they all thought that Lu Xingchen would end the battle as easily as crushing dry weeds. After all, he had divine sense. But they never expected that it would turn into a protracted battle. They really couldn't figure out what ability the golden wolf had to be able to fight with Lu Xingchen for so long. Further away, the white-haired old man had already caught the 2 men and the woman. But he didn't go back. Because with his cultivation and strength, he couldn't withstand the fluctuations of the battle between Lu Xingchen and the golden wolf. Of course, he certainly wouldn't take the initiative to go back. He couldn't wait for the golden wolf to die in the hands of Lu Xingchen. In this way, he could regain his freedom. At this moment, he was standing on the edge of a cliff, looking at the battlefield from afar. He clenched his fists. He prayed silently in his heart. Old Gua, let us go. We'll go to the temple master and ask him to gather people to save you. Don't be so stubborn. The two men and the woman begged. The white-haired old man had destroyed their sea of qi and confiscated their Xueqi bags. They were full of helplessness. Shut up! The white-haired old man shouted coldly without turning his head, killing intent flashing in his eyes. If the golden wolf hadn't said that he wanted them alive, he would have killed the three of them to silence them. At the same time, in front of the exit of the Bone Canyon, there were mountains. At this moment, be it on the mountain or on the ground, there were ghost wolves everywhere. Without exception, they looked at the water source in front of them, their eyes full of worry. The fluctuations of the battle between Lu Xingqian and the golden wolf had already alarmed the ghost wolves in the nearby canyon. However, in the face of the terrifying fluctuations of the battle, none of the ghost wolves dared to enter the water source to help. Hundreds of miles away from the exit, a figure was running in the canyon as fast as lightning. It was Qin Feiyang. Along the way, he had been using the phantom steps to hurry, so he arrived here in advance. As for the Scorpion King, it had been napping on his shoulder. On the way, although they encountered many ghost wolves, under Qin Feiyang's tyrannical means, they were basically unimpeded. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang stopped and looked in the direction of the water source, a trace of surprise in his eyes. What's wrong? The Scorpion King quivered and stood on Qin Feiyang's shoulder, scanning the front, his eyes full of murderous intent. He thought that there was a sudden attack by ghost wolves. There seems to be a battle ahead. And have you noticed that there are obviously fewer ghost wolves around here? Qin Feiyang said. It seems to be the case. The Scorpion King looked around and nodded. It seems that someone has beaten us to it again. Qin Feiyang mumbled and used the phantom steps again, rushing toward the exit. As he got closer, the fluctuations of the battle became more obvious. Gradually, Qin Feiyang frowned. There seemed to be a familiar aura in the fluctuations of the battle. Suddenly, his gaze trembled. Lu Xingqian. It's this bastard again. There was a flash of murderous intent in Qin Feiyang's eyes. The distance of hundreds of miles was nothing to Qin Feiyang now. Soon, he saw the exit. It turns out that the ghost wolves are all gathered here. The Scorpion King said. Roar! The ghost wolves at the exit also noticed Qin Feiyang and the Scorpion King. They immediately gritted their teeth and revealed a murderous look. If you want to die, then bring it on. The Scorpion King sneered. A 9-star combat Emperor Ghost Wolf jumped down from the top of the mountain and landed at the exit. He stared at the Scorpion King in disgust and said, You bastard, you're actually a dog for a human. You're simply a disgrace to us beasts. Be careful with your words. The Scorpion King was furious. If you have the ability to do it, why are you afraid of us saying it? Another 9-star combat Emperor Ghost Wolf stood in front of the exit and laughed coldly. Qin Feiyang said, I'm not interested in you guys. Get out of the way. He didn't stop and went straight to the exit. If you want to go over, then let's see if you have the ability. The two ghost wolves roared and revealed their true forms. They were like mountains and rushed toward Qin Feiyang fiercely. Humph! Qin Feiyang snorted through his nose. Both of his hands shot out and punched out. Roar! Boom! Accompanied by two loud sounds, the two ghost wolves were suddenly sent flying. Their huge bodies were bleeding profusely. Qin Feiyang didn't stop and directly swept past them. Stop him. We can't let him meet up with another human. Otherwise, Lord Golden Wolf King will be in danger. The two ghost wolves immediately roared anxiously when they saw this. The ghost wolves around the exit suddenly swarmed forward and blocked Qin Feiyang's path. You're courting death. The Scorpion King was furious and murderous intent surged in his eyes. Wait. Qin Feiyang stopped the Scorpion King and turned to look at the two ghost wolves. He said, You just said that the one fighting in front is the Golden Wolf King? Yes. The two beasts nodded. Not bad. Qin Feiyang was surprised. He knew Lu Xingqian's strength very well. The fact that the Golden Wolf King dared to fight with him meant that his strength was not simple. The Scorpion King asked, How long have they been fighting? It should have been more than 8 hours. The two beasts said. What? Qin Feiyang was dumbfounded. He originally thought that it had just begun, but he didn't expect that the battle had already been going on for more than 8 hours. What did the Golden Wolf King use to fight with Lu Xingqian? Interesting. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. He turned around and leaped over the layers of wolves, rushing into the water source like lightning. What should we do? The wolves looked at the two 9-star combat Emperor Ghost Wolves. Nonsense. Of course we should inform Lord Wolf King as soon as possible. If we don't come, Lord Golden Wolf King will be in danger. The two beasts roared. Howl! Immediately. Deafening wolf howls resounded through the White Bones Canyon one after another. As soon as he entered the water source, Qin Feiyang could clearly sense the Golden Wolf King's aura. It was even stronger than Lu Xingchen's aura. How could this be? Could it be that Lu Xingchen's strength is not as strong as the Golden Wolf King's? But doesn't Lu Xingchen have divine consciousness? No wonder. Could it be that his spiritual awareness has been exhausted? Qin Feiyang was surprised. A terrifying wave of energy surged toward them. The strong wind turned into tornadoes, sweeping in all directions. But Qin Feiyang did not stop at all. The Scorpion King asked suspiciously, "Boss, why are you in such a hurry? It's not too late for us to reap the benefits when both sides are injured." No. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Why? The Scorpion King was puzzled. Qin Feiyang said, "Because of the Silver Wolf King." The Silver Wolf King? The Scorpion King was stunned and wondered, "Boss, wait. Isn't the Silver Wolf King already far behind us? Why are you still thinking about it?" At first, I had the same idea as you. I thought that by activating the Phantom Steps, I could completely shake off the Silver Wolf King. But later I thought about it carefully. Since the Silver Wolf King has so many perfect battle skills in his treasure, then it is very likely that he also has perfect auxiliary battle skills. If that's the case, then the distance between us and him hasn't actually widened. Qin Feiyang said. It shouldn't be possible. Because if he really has perfect auxiliary battle skills, he would have activated them when he was chasing us from the beginning. Then, he would have caught up with us before we looted his treasure. After all, we looted the treasure and waited until dawn before you used Phantom Steps to hurry on. The Scorpion King said. That makes sense. However, things might change if we delay. Whether the Silver Wolf King has perfect auxiliary battle skills or not, we have to take down Lu Xingchen and the Golden Wolf King as soon as possible. Qin Feiyang said, killing intent flashing in his eyes. Okay. The Scorpion King nodded. Qin Feiyang thought again and said, I don't think you can interfere in this matter. Go to the castle and wait for my orders. Okay. Chapter 1499. After sending the Scorpion King to the castle, Qin Feiyang restrained his aura and approached the center of the battlefield. Not long after, Lu Xingchen and the Golden Wolf King came into sight. Looking at the man and beast, Qin Feiyang's face was full of disbelief. The current situation was actually Lu Xingchen being suppressed. How was this possible? The Golden Wolf King was only at the peak realm. Even if he had a divine artifact, this shouldn't happen. Could it be? Could the Golden Wolf King's divine artifact be compared to Chang Xue's? Thinking of this, Qin Feiyang's gaze trembled slightly. He quickly scanned the void above and immediately saw the golden bow. It was indeed a divine artifact. Looking at the divine bow, Qin Feiyang's eyes were burning with passion. Wait. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang seemed to have discovered something. A hint of surprise crawled up his face. He lowered his head and looked at the Golden Wolf King, then looked up at the divine bow. He was instantly dumbfounded. The Golden Wolf King was actually using blood and qi to revive. This guy, did he want to die? Qin Feiyang hesitated. His original plan was to get rid of Lu Xingchen first. Because in his opinion, Lu Xingchen was a greater threat than the Golden Wolf King. But now, it seemed that the Golden Wolf King was a greater threat than Lu Xingchen. It has been going on for 6 to 8 hours, using blood and qi to revive the divine artifact. How did you do it? Lu Xingchen suddenly shouted. What? It has been going on for 6 to 8 hours. Qin Feiyang's eyes widened as he stared at the Golden Wolf King. His face was full of disbelief. As far as he knew, a peak 9-star combat emperor could only use blood and qi to revive the divine artifact for 100 breaths at most. Even if the Golden Wolf King's blood and qi were more vigorous than others, it couldn't last for 6 to 8 hours. He looked at the man and beast, his eyes flickering. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang's gaze once again fell on the divine bow. The reason why the Golden Wolf King was so strong was all because of the godly bow. Without the divine bow, even if it had endless qi and blood, it would be useless. Gradually, a smile crept onto Qin Feiyang's face, and he quietly swept behind Lu Xingchen. That was right. His first target was Lu Xingchen. Lu Xingchen was too cunning, and he also had a spatial divine item. If he didn't kill him in one blow, it would be very difficult to find another opportunity. Now was undoubtedly the best opportunity. Whoosh! After hiding behind Lu Xingchen, Qin Feiyang didn't hesitate at all. He took out the Chang Shui and attacked. The Golden Wolf King, who was having a good time with Lu Xingchen, immediately noticed Qin Feiyang. Because it and Lu Xingchen were standing opposite each other, it could see Qin Feiyang as soon as he appeared. Qin Feiyang saw that the situation wasn't good, and hurriedly gestured for the Golden Wolf King to keep quiet. He believed that the Golden Wolf King would definitely understand. The Golden Wolf King did indeed understand Qin Feiyang's meaning, but it was afraid that this was a trap deliberately set up by Qin Feiyang and Lu Xingchen. On the surface, it looked like they were attacking Lu Xingchen, but in fact, they wanted to numb it and take the opportunity to attack it. Therefore, in a moment of desperation, it made a decision. Retreat! Seeing the Golden Wolf King suddenly retreat, Lu Xingchen naturally became suspicious. He hurriedly turned his head, and when he saw Qin Feiyang, his expression changed, and he instantly disappeared without a trace. Damn it! Qin Feiyang was furious. This Golden Wolf King was really stupid. Such a good opportunity was wasted just like that. The Golden Wolf King sized up Qin Feiyang and said, "You humans can't be trusted, so don't blame me." Qin Feiyang put away the Chang Shui and said with a smile, "I don't blame you, but you have to bear the consequences." Trying to scare me? The Golden Wolf King sneered. Qin Feiyang said, "What do you think?" The Golden Wolf King said, "Then tell me, what consequences do I have to bear?" Ha ha! With a faint laugh, Lu Xingchen appeared beside Qin Feiyang. He looked at the Golden Wolf King and said, "The consequences that Brother Qin mentioned are that we will join forces to kill you. You are indeed the same kind of people." The Golden Wolf King's eyes darkened. No. Our relationship isn't what you think it is. Brother Qin did want to kill me just now. If you hadn't suddenly retreated, I would have been dead by now. Lu Xingchen waved his hand. He wanted to kill you, and you still call him brother? And now you're saying that you want to join forces to kill me? What's the relationship between the two of you? The Golden Wolf King sized up the two of them suspiciously. Lu Xingchen chuckled and said, "Our relationship is quite complicated. I can't explain it clearly in a short time." Qin Feiyang said, "Even if I tell you, you might not understand." The Golden Wolf King was stunned. Then, he threw his head back and laughed loudly. There was a strong sense of mockery in his laughter. "Do you think that I'm afraid of you just because you joined forces? Come, let me see how capable you all are." The Golden Wolf King stood up, and his aura surged. He was like a beast god that had descended, looking down on all directions. However, Qin Feiyang and Lu Xingchen turned a blind eye to all of this. They even treated the Golden Wolf King as heir. Lu Xingchen asked, "Brother Qin, how should we split the divine bow?" "What do you think?" Qin Feiyang asked. "We'll use our own methods. What do you think?" Lu Xingchen said. "Agreed." Qin Feiyang nodded. Preposterous. You're not taking me seriously at all." The Golden Wolf King was furious. His qi and blood surged and condensed into two blood-colored arrows. Divine power swept in all directions and shot towards Qin Feiyang and Lu Xingchen. "Brother Qin, the power of these arrows is a little terrifying. You have to be careful." "Of course, I also believe that you'll have a way to deal with it." Lu Xingchen chuckled. A wisp of divine consciousness swept out and met one of the blood-colored arrows without looking back. "You want to see me embarrass myself?" Qin Feiyang raised the corner of his mouth slightly and said, "You don't have to worry about it. Just take care of yourself." Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, a terrifying divine power emerged. Sensing the divine power, Lu Xingchen and the Golden Wolf King immediately looked over and saw a purple gold armor appear on Qin Feiyang's body. Lu Xingchen's eyes flashed and he said with a smile, Look at my memory. I actually forgot that the Crocodile Emperor's armor has been given to you. What? That's the Crocodile Emperor's armor. The Golden Wolf King's eyes trembled. Whoosh! Qin Feiyong attacked decisively. Without any fancy moves, he directly punched the blood-colored arrows. The fist and the blood-colored arrows collided with a loud bang. Accompanied by a loud clang, Qin Feiyong was sent flying on the spot with blood gushing out of his mouth. However, the blood-colored arrows were also shattered by Qin Feiyong's punch. At the same time, Lu Xingqian also shattered another arrow and laughed. Brother Qin, it's rare for us to team up in a battle. Let's go all out, okay? As you wish. Divine Dragon Seal. Qin Feiyong raised his head and roared. The Divine Dragon Seal appeared in the sky like a huge mountain. It carried a monstrous divine power and suppressed the Golden Wolf King. Lu Xingqian also waved his hand. His divine consciousness swept across the sky and charged towards the Golden Wolf King. The Golden Wolf King's eyes darkened. His divine bow shone brightly and faced the Divine Dragon Seal. Boom! The Divine Dragon Seal was shattered immediately. However, Lu Xingqian's divine consciousness also blasted towards the divine bow. With a clang, the divine bow was sent flying and smashed into the ground in the distance. Awesome! Brother Qin, did you see that? If we team up, who can compete with us? I hope you can reconsider my suggestion. Let's team up and fight together and divide the world equally. Lu Xingqian laughed. Not interested. Qin Feiyong replied coldly. He activated the battle art and used the phantom steps to rush towards the Golden Wolf King. You're courting death. The Golden Wolf King was enraged. Battle Chi surged and a black battle axe instantly appeared above his head. The battle axe was a few hundred feet long and its sharpness was shocking. Indeed, you have mastered a battle art. It's just a perfect battle art. What can it do to me? Qin Feiyong's face was full of disdain. At this moment, he activated 2 layers of defense. He was not afraid of Lu Xingqian's divine consciousness, let alone a perfect battle art. Thinking back to when he was in Crocodile's territory, he relied on these 2 layers of defense to fight against Lu Xingqian and was in an invincible position. He threw a punch. It was simple and violent. The battle axe shattered. Poof! The Golden Wolf King spat out a mouthful of blood. At this moment, Lu Xingqian's divine consciousness streaked across the sky and pierced through the Golden Wolf King's body, leaving a fist-sized bloody hole with blood gushing out. Qin Feiyong said coldly, "Now answer me. Can you bear the consequences?" The Golden Wolf King looked at Qin Feiyong and then at Lu Xingqian. It could not help but feel regretful. When Qin Feiyong sneaked an attack on Lu Xingqian, it should not have thought so much. Otherwise, Lu Xingqian would have died at the hands of Qin Feiyong. Without Lu Xingqian, it would not have to expend so much effort to deal with Qin Feiyong. Of course, there was no medicine for regret in this world. It was a disaster that it had caused. No matter how bitter it was, it had to be swallowed. Crack. Rumble. With the addition of Qin Feiyong, it was a one-sided battle. Even the Golden Wolf King's resurrection bow was useless. After all, whether it was Lu Xingqian or Qin Feiyong, they had too many trump cards in their hands. The Golden Wolf King retreated step by step. A sense of fear slowly rose in its heart. But now, even if it wanted to escape, it had to get the permission of Qin Feiyong and Lu Xingqian. The Golden Wolf King dodged in a panic while secretly transmitting its voice to Qin Feiyong. "Human, let's talk." "Talk about what?" Qin Feiyong said. The Golden Wolf King said secretly, "Let's work together to kill him, and then I'll give you a big treasure." Qin Feiyong laughed secretly and said, "The big treasure you're talking about should be the treasures in the Silver Wolf King's lair." "How do you know?" The Golden Wolf King was surprised. Qin Feiyong said, "It's very simple. Those treasures are now in my pocket." "What?" The Golden Wolf King's body trembled. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed, and he transmitted his voice. "If you're willing to give me the divine bow, I can agree to work together with you." "In your dreams." The Golden Wolf King roared. Then, with a divine bow, it turned around and began to escape with a mysterious footwork. "Want to leave?" "No way." Lu Xingqian roared and quickly blocked in front of the Golden Wolf King, 2 wisps of divine consciousness madly attacking. Qin Feiyong also quickly chased and blocked the Golden Wolf King's rear. The 4 moves of Ruins of End and the 3 moves of Moon Eclipse bombarded the Golden Wolf King. There was a wolf in front and a tiger behind. At this moment, the Golden Wolf King was really forced into a corner. With a painful howl, it fell to the ground with heavy injuries. The divine bow also fell to the ground, and its light quickly dimmed. Whoosh! Lu Xingchen looked at the divine bow, and his eyes shone. He immediately executed a perfect support-type battle technique and rushed toward the divine bow. Don't even think about it. Chapter 1500. However, just as the 2 of them were about to reach the divine bow, they gave up on the divine bow and turned to grab the Golden Wolf King. Qin Feiyang and Lu Xingchen did not expect this sudden turn of events. The 2 of them were stunned and looked at each other at the same time. Lu Xingchen grinned and said, "It seems that we have the same idea." "Yes. I have to admit that we have quite a tacit understanding." Qin Feiyang nodded. "That's right. Their target was not the divine bow but the Golden Wolf King. Of course. In the beginning, their target was indeed the divine bow. After all, it was a divine artifact. However, after witnessing the Golden Wolf King's ability, they changed their target to the Golden Wolf King. What they valued was the Golden Wolf King's vitality. The Golden Wolf King's resurrection of the divine bow had endless vitality. Although they did not know what was going on, just this point alone made the Golden Wolf King more valuable than the divine bow. Therefore, they were willing to give up the divine bow to get the Golden Wolf King. But who would have thought that the 2 of them had the same idea? Damn, am I a cake? You guys are fighting over it. Do you still have any respect for me? The Golden Wolf King was furious. Shut up! Qin Feiyang and Lu Xingchen shouted at the same time. Lu Xingchen reached out and grabbed the Golden Wolf King's tail. Qin Feiyang also dove down and reached out his arm to grab the Golden Wolf King's front leg. The 2 of them pulled hard, and the Golden Wolf King immediately rose into the air and hovered in the air. It's broken, it's broken. Let go! The Golden Wolf King howled in pain. The 2 of them ignored it and looked up at each other angrily. I don't want the divine artifact. Give it to me, Qin Feiyang said. In your dreams. Lu Xingchen sneered. The 2 of them couldn't help but increase their strength. Ow! The tail is really broken. You 2 bastards. Hurry up and let go. I can't take it anymore. My skin is open and bleeding. The Golden Wolf King howled and cursed. However, Qin Feiyang and Lu Xingchen turned a deaf ear to it. One of them grabbed the Golden Wolf King's tail and the other grabbed the Golden Wolf King's front leg, as if they were in a tug of war. The Golden Wolf King's tail and front legs really did split open, and blood flowed out. Lu Xingchen raised his eyebrows and looked at the Golden Wolf King. Golden Wolf King, I am the Emperor of the Heavenly Sun Empire. I have countless treasures. As long as you follow me, I guarantee that you will have no worries for the rest of your life. Ah! The Golden Wolf King was stunned. Qin Feiyang sneered and looked at Lu Xingchen. What's the use of treasures for people and beasts at our level of cultivation? That makes sense. It's really useless. The Golden Wolf King nodded. He rolled his eyes and smiled obsequiously. Since you have the same goal, why don't you sit down and talk? Why make a fuss? Let go. I can't hold on any longer. Lu Xingchen looked at Qin Feiyang and said, You let go first. Do you think I'm an idiot? Once I let go, you'll send it to the divine artifact. What can I do? You have to let go first. Qin Feiyang snorted coldly. Lu Xingchen said, You also have a divine artifact. What you're worried about is naturally what I'm worried about. Okay. Don't let go. It's fine as long as you don't pull. This prince's old body really can't withstand your torment. The Golden Wolf King said helplessly. Lu Xingchen looked at Qin Feiyang and said, Can I? Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. The 2 of them retracted their strength at the same time. The Golden Wolf King felt better this time. He said, I can see that the 2 of you are not simple. It doesn't matter who I follow, but the premise is that you have to give me satisfactory conditions. The Golden Wolf King added, Let me say this in advance. Ordinary things don't catch my eye. Lu Xingchen asked, Then what do you want? What do I want? The Golden Wolf King pondered for a moment and said, "For example, a perfect auxiliary battle art. Right, it has to be suitable for me to cultivate." A perfect auxiliary battle art? Qin Feiyong was stunned. He frowned and said, "Don't you have it?" The Golden Wolf King said, "I have it, but my brother doesn't." The Silver Wolf King? Qin Feiyong asked. "Yes. Although we have found many perfect auxiliary battle arts over the years, we have only found one that is suitable for us to cultivate. Since my brother gave it to me, I naturally have to help him find one. Of course, it would be better if there is an auxiliary battle art suitable for us to cultivate." The Golden Wolf King chuckled. "I didn't expect you to be such a loyal guy," Qin Feiyong said. But in his heart, he was secretly relieved. The Silver Wolf King didn't have a perfect auxiliary battle art, so there was no way he could rush over to meet up with the Golden Wolf King in a short period of time. Lu Xingqian's eyes flashed and said, "I don't have any auxiliary battle arts or battle arts suitable for you to cultivate, but I have a potential pill that can help you open all the doors of potential." Ah! Qin Feiyong looked at Lu Xingqian in astonishment. He used his trump card so quickly? One had to know. Opening the door of potential had an irresistible temptation to any person or beast. Qin Feiyong also immediately looked at the Golden Wolf King and said, "I also have a potential pill." Lu Xingqian said angrily, "I gave you your pill scripture. Don't make it sound so nice. I got the pill scripture with my own ability. What does it have to do with you?" Qin Feiyong snorted coldly. "Why are you being so unreasonable?" Lu Xingqian gritted his teeth. "What I said is reasonable," Qin Feiyong said. "Wait." The Golden Wolf King hurriedly interrupted the two and said in surprise, "Are you sure you're not joking?" "Of course." The two nodded at the same time. "Not only are you so strong, but you also have such a heaven-defying pill? What kind of monsters are you?" The Golden Wolf King was dumbfounded. "As I said, I used to be a war god. If you follow me, not only can I help you open the door of potential, but I can also help you comprehend the profound meaning of becoming a god. You have to know that in today's world, a real war god is already peerless. With my help, you'll get twice the result with half the effort." Lu Xingqian looked at the Golden Wolf King and said, "Really? Don't treat me as a 3-year-old kid." The Golden Wolf King looked at Lu Xingqian doubtfully. Lu Xingqian said proudly, "If I wasn't a war god in the past, would I have divine sense now?" "That's true." The Golden Wolf King nodded and said to Qin Feiyong, "What about you? What conditions can you offer that I'm interested in?" Qin Feiyong glanced at Lu Xingqian, then looked at the Golden Wolf King and said, "Although I'm not a war god, there are countless dire beasts following me, such as the Crocodile Emperor, the Scorpion Emperor, the Ant Emperor, and the Spider Emperor. They're all by my side now." "Is that so?" The Golden Wolf King was surprised. Qin Feiyong waved his hand, and the Scorpion Emperor and the other 3 beasts appeared out of thin air. The Golden Wolf King was stunned and cursed angrily. "Bastards, you actually followed a human. Don't you feel ashamed? Don't you feel ashamed?" "On the contrary, I feel that it's an honor to follow Boss Qin." "Wolf Cub, you should choose Boss Qin. He treats us dire beasts very well. Just like family." The 4 beasts instigated. "Family?" The Golden Wolf King was stunned. "I'm not lying to you. You know our character. If Boss Qin doesn't treat us well, would we follow him so loyally? Especially Little Crocodile. Even the divine armor was willingly given to Boss Qin. You can imagine how good Boss Qin is as a person." On the other hand, Lu Xingqian. Speaking of this, the eyes of the Scorpion Emperor and the other 3 beasts were filled with shocking murderous intent. "What happened to him?" The Golden Wolf King was surprised. The Scorpion Emperor said coldly, "He slaughtered all our people. His methods are extremely ruthless." Lu Xingqian's pupils shrank. "What?" The Golden Wolf King's expression changed. The Crocodile Emperor shouted, "Lu Xingqian, you dare to say that you didn't kill our people?" Lu Xingqian was silent. "It seems that you admit it." "I swear that I will kill you with my own hands." The Crocodile Emperor said each word with a murderous intent. "And us," the Scorpion Emperor, the Ant Emperor, and the Spider Emperor said sternly. Lu Xingqian glanced at the 4 beasts, his eyes flickering. The Golden Wolf King also looked at Qin Feiyong and Lu Xingqian, his eyes rolling. Suddenly, battle aura surged. The Golden Wolf King cut off his own tail. Qin Feiyong was stunned for a moment and was overjoyed. He quickly let go of the Golden Wolf King and protected the Golden Wolf King behind him. The Golden Wolf King poked his head out and looked at Lu Xingqian. "You're too inhumane. I'd better stay away from you." Lu Xingqian did not say a word. He turned around and dashed toward the divine bow. He did not get the Golden Wolf King. If he did not get the divine bow, then all his efforts would have been in vain. The Crocodile Emperor shouted, "Wolf Cub, don't let him succeed. It won't be that easy." The Golden Wolf King smiled coldly. His blood chi surged, and the divine bow shone brightly. A monstrous aura rushed out. Caught off guard, Lu Xingqian was immediately pushed back. At the same time, Qin Feiyong took a step forward and dashed in front of Lu Xingqian. He took out the ancient castle and smashed it toward Lu Xingqian's head without saying a word. "Boss, smash his head." The Crocodile Emperor and the other beasts could not help but roar. But just as the ancient castle was about to fall, Lu Xingqian suddenly disappeared without a trace. "Bastard! He escaped like that. He's really lucky." The Crocodile Emperor and the other beasts were furious. "Hey!" Seeing this, the Golden Wolf King suddenly grinned. Boom! A monstrous aura surged and blasted Qin Feiyong, the Crocodile Emperor, and the other beasts away. Then, the Golden Wolf King took the divine bow and dashed toward the White Bone Canyon without looking back. "Wolf Cub, you bastard! We're not done with you." Qin Feiyong, the Crocodile Emperor, and the other beasts did not expect this. Bang! Bang! The man and the four beasts crashed into the ground, creating a deep pit. They were dizzy. "TSK, a bunch of trash. You want to fight with me? Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself? Qin Feiyong, right? Just you wait. When my brother comes, I'll let you know why flowers are so beautiful." The Golden Wolf King laughed without even turning his head. He was extremely pleased with himself. Qin Feiyong dashed out of the deep pit and looked at the Golden Wolf King's back. His face was full of anger. "This bastard is really cunning." Swish! At this moment, Lu Xingqian appeared out of thin air again. He looked at Qin Feiyong and mocked. "Now I feel better. All my efforts were in vain." "Is that so? You must have used up a lot of your divine sense after fighting with the Golden Wolf King for a few hours." Chapter 1501. Lu Xingqian clenched his fists. Originally, he wanted to see Qin Feiyong's dejected look, but he didn't expect Qin Feiyong to say such words. His face suddenly darkened. Because in the process of fighting with the Golden Wolf King, he had indeed consumed a lot of his divine sense. On the other hand, Qin Feiyong had only suffered a little injury, and the loss was almost negligible. In short, Qin Feiyong was mocking him. He had used up so much divine sense, but in the end, it was all for naught. He didn't get anything. "I really don't want to open your scars. But there's no other way. You're just so insensible. Last time in the water source of the crocodile, you lost more divine sense than this time, right? But what did you get in the end? You didn't even get a fruit of creation. And now it's the same again. Why are you so unlucky? I can't help but start to sympathize with you." Qin Feiyong's face was full of ridicule. Lu Xingqian's fists clenched tighter and tighter. Okay. This is heaven's will. You can't force it." Qin Feiyong waved his hand and laughed. "Don't be sarcastic. These 2 times if you hadn't interfered, would things have turned out this way?" Lu Xingqian roared, unable to contain the anger in his heart. "Is it my fault?" Qin Feiyong was stunned. "If it's not your fault, whose fault is it? Like this time, if you hadn't interfered, the Golden Wolf King might have been subdued by me. I'm really unlucky to always run into a jinx like you." Lu Xingqian said angrily, his face as dark as water. "I'm a jinx?" Qin Feiyong was stunned for a moment before he said in dissatisfaction, "I don't like what you just said. When I first arrived, you were clearly at a disadvantage. It was only because of my participation that you started to turn the situation around." "Then should I thank you?" Lu Xingqian sneered. "Of course. According to the situation at the time, if nothing unexpected happened, you would have been skinned even if you didn't die. Don't you think you should thank me? Qin Feiyong said confidently. Forget it, I can't be bothered to talk nonsense with you. I admit defeat these 2 times. Let's continue next time. Also, I only killed the Scorpion King's people. Crocodile Emperor, Ant Emperor, and Spider Emperor's people were not killed by me. I, Lu Xingqian, dare to take responsibility for my actions, but I don't want to take the blame for others. With that, Lu Xingqian turned around and strode away. What? He didn't kill our people. The Spider Emperor, Ant Emperor, and Crocodile Emperor looked at each other with bewilderment in their eyes. Crocodile Emperor said angrily, "If it's not you, then who is it?" "Zhuge Mingyang." Lu Xingqian said. "Zhuge Mingyang." Qin Feiyong's gaze trembled. He took a step in front of Lu Xingqian and said in a deep voice, "You and I both know his cultivation level. It's impossible for him to have such ability." Lu Xingqian said, "That's what I'm wondering too. Zhuge Mingyang clearly died in my hands, but now he suddenly came back to life. Why do I feel that he's somewhat similar to you in the past?" Qin Feiyong's eyes flickered. "What do you mean? Are you suspecting that I've possessed Zhuge Mingyang?" Lu Xingqian raised his eyebrows. "Otherwise, how do you explain it?" Qin Feiyong said. "What a joke. If it's really me, would I deny it? Moreover, we're not even together. How can I possess him?" Lu Xingqian said angrily. "Then what's going on?" Qin Feiyong's brows were tightly knitted. "You're asking me? I'm the one who wants to ask you." Lu Xingqian glared at him and walked past Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong turned to look at Lu Xingqian's back. His eyes flickered. "Boss, are we letting him go just like that?" He admitted it himself. He's the one who killed Little Scorpion's people. Aren't we going to avenge Little Scorpion? Crocodile Emperor said. Qin Feiyong shook his head and sighed. As long as the Space Divine item is still there, we can't kill him. Fighting with him is a waste of time. Ant Emperor said, so we're just going to let it go like that. Qin Feiyong looked at Crocodile Emperor, Ant Emperor, and Spider Emperor, then turned to Scorpion Emperor. Scorpion Emperor lowered his head and looked extremely lonely. We'll remember this. When I have the chance in the future, I'll definitely kill him and avenge your people. Qin Feiyong comforted. Scorpion Emperor nodded. Qin Feiyong looked at Crocodile Emperor and the other 2 beasts, and said, "And you guys, don't worry. If I can kill Zhuge Mingyang once, I can kill him a second time." The 3 beasts also nodded. Scorpion Emperor asked, "Then what should we do next?" Qin Feiyong pondered for a moment, and said, "Let's find Dan Wangkai and Fire Qilin first, then deal with the Golden Wolf King and Silver Wolf King." Finished. He closed his eyes and sensed the location of Dan Wangkai and Fire Qilin. A moment later, he suddenly opened his eyes, his face full of joy, and said, "Dan Wangkai and Fire Qilin are nearby." "Where?" Scorpion Emperor asked. Qin Feiyong laughed. "Dan Wangkai is in the north, Fire Qilin is in the south." Scorpion Emperor said, "Then quickly call them over." Qin Feiyong nodded. Boom. However, at this moment, suddenly, a loud sound came from the south, shaking the sky. Roar. Following closely, a furious roar could be heard. This is Fire Qilin's voice. Could it be that Lu Xingqian found it? Qin Feiyong was surprised. Crocodile Emperor said, No, Lu Xingqian just went to the southwest direction. The direction is a little off. It is impossible to find Fire Qilin. Qin Feiyong's face sank, and with a wave of his hand, Ling Yunfei and the White-Eyed Wolf appeared. Qin Feiyong immediately looked at Ling Yunfei and the White-Eyed Wolf, and said, "You guys go find Dan Wangkai. I'll go find Fire Qilin. Come and meet me later." After that, Qin Feiyong reminded again, "Be careful of Lu Xingqian. According to his character, it is very likely that he will return." Okay. Ling Yunfei and the White-Eyed Wolf nodded, turned around, and rushed to the north. Qin Feiyong did not delay, and used the phantom steps, and rushed to the place where Fire Qilin was. The Scorpion Emperor and the other 3 beasts became palm-sized, lying on his left and right shoulders. After 10 breaths, in the distance, a majestic mountain ridge appeared. Qin Feiyong stopped and looked at the mountain ridge. Suddenly, he looked at a certain place in the mountain ridge, and there was a familiar aura there. And this aura was not concealed at all. It was as if it was not afraid of being discovered. Crocodile Emperor asked, "Is it Zhuge Mingyang?" "It is him. Although it is far and I can't see clearly, I am too familiar with his aura. I will never forget it," Qin Feiyang said. Crocodile Emperor was surprised. Could it be that Fire Qilin is in his hands? Impossible. I know Zhuge Mingyang. When he captured me, he was only a 3-star combat emperor. He could not do anything to Fire Qilin. Spider Emperor said. So weak? Then how did he kill our clansman? Crocodile Emperor was shocked. I don't know. Spider Emperor shook his head. Let's not worry about this first. Fire Qilin's roar came from the mountain ridge. But why can't I sense its aura? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. The 4 beasts looked at each other, and looked at Qin Feiyang at the same time, and said, "There is only one explanation. Fire Qilin has been killed." What? Qin Feiyang's face turned pale. But immediately, he shook his head hard and said, "Impossible." Why? The 4 beasts were puzzled. Zhuge Mingyang did not conceal his aura, which means that he is deliberately waiting for me here. And he knows my methods. It is impossible for him to kill me. So even if Fire Qilin is in his hands, he is not willing to kill it. Qin Feiyang said. Then why does he want to use Fire Qilin? Crocodile Emperor was suspicious. Using Fire Qilin to threaten me. If Fire Qilin really fell into his hands, I think his Qi should have been destroyed by him, so we can't sense Fire Qilin's aura. Qin Feiyang guessed. That makes sense. The 4 beasts nodded. Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment, then suddenly turned to look at the Ant Emperor and smiled. It's time to use your ability. My ability? The Ant Emperor was stunned. Yes. Your ability. Do you still remember how you dealt with me when we first met? Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. The Ant Emperor was stunned for a moment, then suddenly smiled and said, I understand, you are talking about this Emperor's innate ability transformation. That's right. You transform into my appearance and confuse Zhuge Mingyang. I will activate the concealment technique and sneak over to rescue Fire Qilin. Qin Feiyang said. All right. The Ant Emperor nodded and jumped down from Qin Feiyang's shoulder. When it landed on the ground, its body immediately emitted a bloody light. In the next moment, a living Qin Feiyang appeared in front of everyone. Blood-red eyes, blood-red hair, almost no different from Qin Feiyang's original body. Qin Feiyang then activated the Crocodile Emperor and the other 2 beasts, and said, The 3 of you follow the Ant Emperor, just in case. All right. The Crocodile Emperor and the other 2 beasts jumped up and landed on the Ant Emperor's shoulder. Be careful. Don't reveal any flaws. Qin Feiyang warned. Don't worry, even you couldn't tell the difference back then, let alone him. The Ant Emperor smiled confidently, then took a step forward and rushed towards the mountain ridge. Qin Feiyang also activated the concealment technique and silently sneaked over. Not long later, 1 man and 4 beasts arrived at the mountain ridge. Immediately, a figure that could not be more familiar entered Qin Feiyang's line of sight. It was Zhuge Mingyang. He stood on top of the mountain ridge, his entire body emitting an imposing aura as he stepped on a fiery red beast with 1 foot. That beast was the Fire Qilin. Qin Feiyang could clearly see that in the Fire Qilin's abdomen, there was a fist-sized bloody hole that was bleeding. Sure enough, his Qi was crippled. The Ant Emperor muttered secretly. I'm sorry, I've implicated you again. The Fire Qilin looked at the Ant Emperor and sighed, as if it could not tell the truth. Why are you being so polite between us? The Ant Emperor chuckled, raised his head and looked at Zhuge Mingyang, and said, I didn't expect us to meet again so soon. Yeah. Zhuge Mingyang nodded and joked. Are you surprised to see that I'm still alive? Of course I'm surprised that a person who was clearly dead suddenly jumped out. But it doesn't matter to me. Anyway, it's just a clown. It can't cause any big waves. The Ant Emperor said disdainfully. A clown. Zhuge Mingyang muttered. Ha ha. Suddenly, he raised his head and laughed loudly, looked at the Ant Emperor and said, Do you believe that one day I, this clown, will be able to consign you to eternal damnation? Is that so? Chapter 1502. Looking at the Ant Queen's arrogant attitude, Zhuge Mingyang frowned and said, "You really haven't changed at all. No matter when, in front of anyone, you still feel that you are superior." "I can't help it. That's how I am. If people respect me, I'll respect them tenfold. When have you, Zhuge Mingyang, ever been polite to me?" "Of course I won't be polite to you," the Ant Emperor said indifferently. "Haha. What a good you're not polite. Since that's the case, let's shed all pretense of cordiality." Zhuge Mingyang laughed. "Do you still have any shame?" the Ant Emperor asked. Zhuge Mingyang ignored the Ant Emperor's sarcasm and stepped on the fire qilin under his feet. He laughed and said, "Do you want it to live?" The Ant Emperor nodded. Zhuge Mingyang said, "Then we'll use the castle and Shui in exchange. Listen carefully. There's no room for negotiation." "Castle, Shui," the Ant Emperor murmured and sneered. "Your appetite is really big. Aren't you afraid of exploding?" "That's none of your business. Hand it over immediately, or else." Zhuge Mingyang laughed sinisterly. Although he only said half of it, everyone understood that he wanted to kill the fire qilin. The Ant Emperor frowned. "You don't have time to think, and you don't have a choice." Zhuge Mingyang's eyes turned cold and his aura exploded. A wisp of battle qi shot out from his fingertip and into the fire qilin's body like an arrow. Roar! Immediately, another bloody hole appeared and divine blood splattered everywhere. "What? 7-star combat emperor?" The Ant Emperor and the others trembled. Qin Feiyong, who was approaching the fire qilin, also had a face full of disbelief. Last time in the Spider Emperor's territory, Zhuge Mingyang's cultivation was only a 3-star combat emperor. How long had it been? He had actually surpassed him and stepped into the 7-star combat emperor realm. How did this person achieve such a leap in breakthrough? "Are you surprised by my cultivation? Are you surprised?" Haha. "Actually, I still have to thank you properly. It was you who allowed me to transform into what I am today. To repay you, I won't kill you. Because I want you to watch with your own eyes as I ascend to the top of this world step by step. I want everything in this world to submit to me. Zhuge Mingyang." Zhuge Mingyang threw his head back and laughed maniacally. His long hair danced wildly in the air like a demonic god. But suddenly, a sharp pain came from his lower abdomen. The laughter stopped abruptly. Zhuge Mingyang lowered his head and looked at his lower abdomen. Immediately, he saw a vigorous hand holding a dagger in front of his lower abdomen. The dagger seemed to be made of divine jade, shining with divine light. The entire blade had sunk into his lower abdomen. Fresh blood flowed down the blade and dripped onto the ground. "This is Shui." Zhuge Mingyang felt as if he was struck by lightning. In the next instant, Qin Feiyong appeared in front of him. How is this possible? Zhuge Mingyang's eyes trembled. He raised his head and looked at Qin Feiyong. Then, he looked at the Ant King with a face full of shock. How could there be two Qin Feiyong? Heh! The Ant King grinned and its body emitted a bloody light. When the bloody light dissipated, it returned to its original form. "It's you!" Zhuge Mingyang's eyes were wide open in anger. "Surprised? Surprised?" the Ant King joked. "You think you have a good chance of winning? Naive. Calling you a clown is already giving you too much credit. A fool like you doesn't deserve to be Boss Qin's opponent." The Crocodile Emperor and the other two beasts were also full of ridicule. Haha. Zhuge Mingyang laughed, but his laugh was particularly miserable. It turned out that Qin Feiyong had already set up a trap. How stupid! Boom! Qin Feiyong waved his hand and slapped Zhuge Mingyang away. Then, he put away the Shui and looked down at the fire qilin with a smile. "Are you all right?" "I'm fine." The fire qilin struggled to get up and shook its head. Qin Feiyong took out a healing pill and a spirit sea pill and put them in the fire qilin's mouth. He was puzzled. "How did you fall into his hands?" "I've been lurking here. Just a while ago, I sensed your energy and wanted to meet up with you. But I didn't expect Zhuge Mingyang to be here too. He suddenly attacked me. I was too careless this time. If you didn't help me, I'm afraid." Sigh. The fire qilin sighed. Qin Feiyong patted its head and said with a smile, "Go to the castle to recover." "No need." The fire qilin shook its head. Qin Feiyong was stunned. Ever since I entered the divine sight, I felt as if something was calling me. I want to see it alone. The fire Qilin said. Qin Feiyong was stunned and said, even so we can go together. I'm really worried about you going alone. It's okay. I'll be careful in the future. You go do your own things. Besides, I also want to explore the divine sight alone. The fire Qilin smiled. This, Qin Feiyong frowned. The fire Qilin said, don't worry, I'll leave the divine sight alive. Qin Feiyong smiled helplessly and said, since you insist, I won't force you. Be careful on the way. Okay. The fire Qilin nodded. Qin Feiyong said, by the way, have you seen Dan Wangkai? No. He's here too. The fire Qilin was surprised. Yes. Qin Feiyong nodded and said with a smile, I've already asked the white-eyed wolf to look for him. I believe he'll join us soon. So now, who hasn't been found? The fire Qilin asked. Qin Feiyong said, there's also the viper, the two-winged snow eagle, the pangolin, the black dragon snake. Do you think I don't exist? But before Qin Feiyong finished speaking, an angry roar sounded. Qin Feiyong turned his head and saw Zhuge Mingyang half kneeling on the ground, covering his bleeding lower abdomen, looking up and glaring at him and the fire Qilin. You're still here, Qin Feiyong said in surprise. What do you mean? Do you really think I don't exist? Am I so unbearable in your eyes? Zhuge Mingyang said angrily. Sorry, I really forgot about you just now. But in the future, I won't forget you again. Trust me. I'll definitely remember you in my heart at all times. Qin Feiyong quickly smiled apologetically. Zhuge Mingyang's face was as cold as water. He would be a fool if he believed this nonsense. Qin Feiyong was obviously teasing him. Qin Feiyong said with a smile, don't be angry. What if you hurt your body? The state preceptor will be heartbroken. After all, he has high hopes for you. You're just an abandoned child with a life of your own and no one to teach you. What are you so proud of in front of me? I, Zhuge Mingyang, am not as good as you, but I've never lacked love in my life. What about you? I really want to know how it feels to be destroyed by your own father and driven out of the capital. Zhuge Mingyang sneered. Qin Feiyong's face instantly darkened. What's wrong? Did I touch your sore spot? Zhuge Mingyang laughed and sighed. To be honest, sometimes I really sympathize with you. You didn't do anything wrong. Why are you being treated like this? Enough! Qin Feiyong shouted. He took a step forward and grabbed Zhuge Mingyang's neck. His blood-red eyes flashed with shocking killing intent. I want to say it. Because the more I see you in pain, the happier I feel. Answer me. Do you really want to know the reason why your father hurt you? I can tell you. Zhuge Mingyang was not afraid at all. He had a playful look on his face. What's the reason? Qin Feiyong said word by word. The reason is that you're not your father's biological son. You're your mother's illegitimate son with an outsider. Zhuge Mingyang laughed cruelly. What? Qin Feiyong's body and mind trembled. You didn't expect it, did you? I can't believe that your most beloved mother is such an indecent woman. Is it funny? Anyway, I think it's very funny. Haha. Zhuge Mingyang laughed. I don't believe it. I won't allow you to tarnish my mother's reputation. Qin Feiyong roared and clenched his fist. This is the truth. You have to believe it. Sooner or later, you'll get the proof. Zhuge Mingyang roared. Shut up. Qin Feiyong roared and bared his teeth. He crushed Zhuge Mingyang's neck on the spot and took his last breath. Boss, don't listen to him. He's a bastard. He's deliberately using lies to provoke you. I think so too. Although we haven't met your mother, we can tell from your character that she's definitely not such a person. The Crocodile Emperor and the other beasts quickly came forward to persuade him. Qin Feiyong let go of his hand and lowered his head in silence. Fire Qilin looked at Zhuge Mingyang and Qin Feiyong and said, trust your own judgment and intuition. Don't be influenced by others. Qin Feiyong looked up at the beasts and said, what are you guys thinking? How can I not trust my own mother? Then why are you so depressed? The 5 beasts looked at him suspiciously. I just suddenly thought of my mother. My mother's whereabouts are unknown. I don't know if she's dead or alive. I'm worried. Qin Feiyang sighed. So that's why. The five beasts nodded in realization. They originally thought that Qin Feiyang really believed Zhuge Mingyang's nonsense. Phew. Qin Feiyang took a deep breath and looked down at Zhuge Mingyang. Let's go and meet up with the white-eyed wolf and the others. Wait. The Spider Emperor said. What? Everyone looked at it suspiciously. The Spider Emperor laughed and revealed its true form. The claws under its abdomen were like sharp blades. In front of everyone, it cut Zhuge Mingyang's body into 8 pieces. Qin Feiyang, Fire Qilin, and the Crocodile Emperor looked at each other. Let's see how you're going to come back from the dead. Finally. The Spider Emperor sprayed a large amount of venom on Zhuge Mingyang's body. Then, it shrunk its body and jumped up and landed on Qin Feiyang's shoulder. Our dead clansmen can be considered avenged. The Crocodile Emperor sighed. Yes. The Ant Emperor nodded. Everything will be fine. Trust me. Qin Feiyang patted the heads of the 3 beasts and comforted them. Then he led everyone to the north. I'm not going. Fire Qilin said. You're leaving? Qin Feiyang was stunned. My energy reserve is almost recovered. It's time to go. Fire Qilin nodded. The Crocodile Emperor hurriedly said, Don't. We just met and haven't had a good chat. Chat about what? Chapter 1503. This. The Crocodile Emperor hesitated, looking embarrassed. Little Crocodile, are you sick? The Scorpion Emperor, Ant Emperor, and Spider Emperor looked at the Crocodile Emperor suspiciously. You guys are the ones who are sick. The Crocodile Emperor stared at the 3 beasts, then signaled them with its eyes. Understood, understood. The 3 beasts were stunned for a moment, then understood. They turned to look at the Fire Qilin, and their expressions became the same as the Crocodile Emperor's. Qin Feiyang looked at the 4 beasts curiously. What's going on? Why are they acting so weird? The Fire Qilin's eyes were also filled with suspicion. It said helplessly, What do you want to say? Can't you just say it? I'm too embarrassed to say it. The Crocodile Emperor smiled awkwardly. The Scorpion Emperor and the other 2 beasts nodded. What do you mean? The Fire Qilin looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Qin Feiyang shrugged. He did not understand either. Let me say it. The Scorpion Emperor gritted its teeth, pushed the Crocodile Emperor and the other 2 beasts away, and looked at the Fire Qilin. Actually, we just want a little bit of God's blood. Ah! Qin Feiyang was stunned. It turned out that these 4 guys wanted the Fire Qilin's God's blood. The Fire Qilin smiled bitterly and said, You guys are with Qin Feiyang, my friend. Why can't you ask for such a small thing? So, you've agreed to it. The 4 beasts were overjoyed. Yes. But my blood doesn't mean much to you guys now. When I break through to the pseudo-god or even the god of war, I'll bathe you guys in real God's blood. The Fire Qilin smiled. Bathe? That's too extravagant. The 4 beasts laughed, feeling like they were dreaming. The Fire Qilin said, As long as you guys are sincere in helping Qin Feiyang, nothing will be a problem. Don't worry. We swear to stay by boss' side. That's right. If anyone wants to kill boss, they'll have to step over our dead bodies first. The 4 beasts raised their heads and puffed out their chests as they declared righteously. The Fire Qilin smiled, looked at Qin Feiyang and said, See you later. Without waiting for Qin Feiyang's response, he turned around and left without looking back. Until we meet again. Qin Feiyang muttered to himself as he looked at the back of the Fire Qilin. To tell the truth, he was very reluctant to part with the Fire Qilin. However, the Fire Qilin was not his personal property, so he could not restrict its freedom. However, he believed that he and the Fire Qilin would meet again. This was because he could sense that there was a kind of bond that bound him and the Fire Qilin together. Let's go too. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and took the 4 beasts with him. He turned around and disappeared into the horizon like a flash of lightning. On the other side, in front of the exit of the Bone Canyon, the Golden Wolf King stood at the edge of a cliff at the top of a mountain and scanned the water source in front of him. A 9-star War Emperor Ghost Wolf said angrily, Lord Golden Wolf King, We can't let this matter go just like that. We have to make those humans pay the price. The Golden Wolf King said angrily, "You're powerful. Why don't you go?" The ghost wolf immediately lowered its head. "Humph! You have no idea how strong they are." The Golden Wolf King snorted coldly. The ghost wolf's gaze trembled and it did not dare to make a sound. The Golden Wolf King continued to look at the water source. After a while he asked, "How long will it take for the Silver Wolf King to arrive?" Lord Silver Wolf King sent a message not long ago. He said that he will only arrive tomorrow night. The ghost wolf said. "Then we'll wait until tomorrow night to take action. As for now, all of you go and hide. Don't let those humans catch you." The Golden Wolf King shouted. "Yes." The ghost wolf replied respectfully and howled towards the sky. Immediately, the nearby ghost wolves scattered and quickly disappeared into the mountain stream. Back to Qin Feiyang. With the help of the slave seal, he quickly rushed to the front of a valley in the north. The entrance of the valley was very narrow. It was only about 2 to 3 meters wide. The surroundings were also barren. It was obvious. They had already left the water source. "Where are they?" The Scorpion Emperor scanned the surroundings and asked. Qin Feiyang said, "According to the slave seal, they are in the valley and have not moved." "What are they doing inside? Catching up? Didn't they say before that when they found Dan Wang Kai, they would immediately come and meet us? Now they still want us to find them. They are all masters." The Crocodile Emperor and the other 2 beasts were dissatisfied. "It's normal to catch up after a long separation." Qin Feiyang smiled and walked towards the valley. The Crocodile Emperor and the other 2 beasts pursed their lips and followed. However, the moment they entered the valley, Qin Feiyang's face suddenly sank. The Crocodile Emperor and the other 2 beasts also had killing intent in their eyes. The valley was only about 100 feet wide. In the middle of the valley, a familiar young man stood with his hands behind his back. It was none other than Lu Xingqian. The white-eyed wolf, Ling Yunfei, Dan Wang Kai, and Wang Yu were also there, but at this moment, their hands and feet were tied with an iron chain. The iron chain was made of gravity iron and exuded an obscure aura. The 3 people and 1 beast were paralyzed on the ground, unable to move. The other end of the iron chain was firmly held in Lu Xingqian's hand. In this way, Ling Yunfei could not enter the Space Divine item. However, Dan Wang Kai still looked like a middle-aged man. But with the enslavement imprint, Qin Feiyang was able to distinguish who was next to him. "What's going on?" Qin Feiyang glanced at Wang Yu, looked at the white-eyed wolf and Ling Yunfei and said in a deep voice. The man and beast lowered their heads silently. Lu Xingqian smiled and said, "Let me tell you." Qin Feiyang looked up at Lu Xingqian. "Not long ago, I did intend to leave. But later, I thought about it and really couldn't take it lying down." "Who am I?" "I'm Mu Tianyang, the previous Celestial Emperor. How am I going to live in the future if I keep being schemed against by you?" Suddenly, I heard the roar of the fire Qilin. Out of curiosity, I returned to take a look and saw you guys whispering. Then, I saw you guys parting ways with Ling Yunfei and the white-eyed wolf. At that time, I knew that the opportunity had come. So, I followed Ling Yunfei and the white-eyed wolf all the way here. I didn't expect Wang Yu to be here too. Lu Xingqian smiled. "Why didn't you follow me?" "Could it be that with your strength, Lu Xingqian, you are afraid of me, a 5-star combat emperor?" Qin Feiyang sneered. "I don't deny this. I am indeed a little afraid of you now," Lu Xingqian admitted frankly. "You only mentioned Wang Yu and didn't mention Dan Wang Kai. Could it be that you still don't know Dan Wang Kai's identity?" Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed as he sent a voice transmission. "Dan Wang Kai, does he know your identity?" "He doesn't know. Wang Yu doesn't know either. They only know that I am your subordinate." Dan Wang Kai thought to himself. "That's good." Qin Feiyang mumbled. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something as his expression changed slightly. He asked, "All right, where is the Chen Kuan bag?" "It's on me," Dan Wang Kai replied with a voice transmission. Qin Feiyang heaved a sigh of relief. It was fine as long as Dan Wang Kai's Chen Kuan bag wasn't lost. However, when he thought about it, given Lu Xingqian's arrogant character, he wouldn't normally plunder other people's Chen Kuan bags. Unless he was the one being held captive. Because he had too many things that Lu Xingchen wanted. Qin Feiyang looked at Ling Yunfei, frowned, and said, I asked you to come with the white-eyed wolf because you have a spatial divine item that can help you hide at the critical moment. How did he catch you? I was careless. Ling Yunfei lowered his head and said with a face full of self-blame. Explain clearly. Qin Feiyang said. Ling Yunfei said, Lu Xingchen was hiding outside the valley. When we went out, he was the first to attack me. Before I could react, he had already captured me. Lu Xingchen said with a smile, You have a spatial divine item. Of course, I had to capture you first. Qin Feiyang looked at Ling Yunfei, Lu Xingchen, and finally looked at the white-eyed wolf and Dan Wangkai. His head couldn't help but swell. It was really one trouble after another. The matter of the fire Kailan had just been solved, and now the white-eyed wolf and Dan Wangkai were kidnapped by Lu Xingchen. Why were there so many troubles? Qin Feiyang rubbed his forehead and looked at Lu Xingchen helplessly. He said, Tell me, what will it take for you to let them go? You're treating me like an outsider. You want it? I'll give it back to you. Lu Xingchen chuckled. With a wave of his hand, a battle sword appeared and directly cut off the chains on Dan Wangkai and Wang Yue. Qin Feiyang was stunned. So straightforward? Dan Wangkai and Wang Yue were also a little stunned. Scorpion King urged. What are you waiting for? Come here quickly. Dan Wangkai and Scorpion King came back to their senses and quickly ran to Qin Feiyang's side. Thank you. Wang Yue looked at Qin Feiyang with a complicated expression and whispered softly. It's okay. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. He was not in the mood to pay attention to Wang Yue now. He looked at Lu Xingchen and said, Where are the white-eyed wolf and Ling Yunfei? I've already released 2. It should be enough to prove my sincerity. As for the white-eyed wolf and Ling Yunfei, they are extraordinarily important to you. Lu Xingchen smiled meaningfully. What he meant was, Dan Wangkai and Wang Yue's relationship with Qin Feiyang was just so. There was no harm in returning them to Qin Feiyang. However, he had to make good use of the white-eyed wolf and Ling Yunfei. What on earth do you want to do? Qin Feiyang said angrily. It's simple. Send the Golden Wolf King and the Divine Bow to me. Lu Xingchen said. Qin Feiyang's eyes darkened. You want me to deal with the Golden Wolf King, but you're here to enjoy the fruits of my labor. What a good plan. It's an equivalent exchange. Unless you don't want the lives of Ling Yunfei and the white-eyed wolf. Lu Xingchen said with a chuckle. He was immensely pleased with himself, as if he had Qin Feiyang in his grasp. Despicable. Shameless. You used to be a god of war. How could you use such a despicable method? Aren't you afraid of being laughed at? The Scorpion King and the other 2 beasts shouted angrily, filled with righteous indignation. Lu Xingchen shook his head and said with a smile, This kind of provocation won't work on me, because I only look at the result, not the process. You really have no bottom line. The 4 beasts despised him. Lu Xingchen turned a deaf ear to them. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, Brother Qin, don't think about it. You don't have a choice. You know in your heart that it's impossible to save them from my hands so easily. Qin Feiyang took a deep breath and nodded. Okay, I promise you. But if anything happens to the white-eyed wolf and Ling Yunfei during this time, I won't let you off. Lu Xingchen was not Zhuge Mingyang. Zhuge Mingyang was easy to deal with, but Lu Xingchen was meticulous and meticulous. He would not give him a chance at all. Brother Qin is indeed a straightforward person. Don't worry, I'm a man of my word. I won't hurt a single hair on them. But if Brother Qin wants to play some tricks, I won't be polite either. Let's not talk nonsense. Hurry up and go. I'll wait here for your good news. Lu Xingchen also smiled. Qin Feiyang glanced at Lu Xingchen, turned around, and strode away with a gloomy face. Scorpion King, the 4 beasts, and Dan Wangkai hurriedly followed after seeing this. Qin Feiyang, do you understand now? The one who laughs last is the winner. Chapter 1504. Tap tap. Qin Feiyang lowered his head and walked in silence. His face was extremely gloomy. Behind him, the 4 beasts, Dan Wangkai, and Wang Yuer were also silent. The hot weather, coupled with the heavy atmosphere, made people feel a little depressed. Boss Qin, the Golden Wolf King, is not easy to deal with. He must have hidden by now. How are we going to find him? Scorpion Emperor could not stand the atmosphere and spoke up. We have to find him even if we can't. As long as we find him, I can take him down quickly. Qin Feiyong said. So confident? Scorpion Emperor and the four beasts were surprised. Qin Feiyong did not answer. The four beasts looked at each other, their eyes full of suspicion. Dan Wangkai glanced at Qin Feiyong and said to the four beasts, "You haven't been with the young master for long. You don't know his true strength. It's actually very easy for him to take down the Golden Wolf King." The four beasts looked at each other. If it was that easy, why didn't he take down the Golden Wolf King and let it escape? Seeing that the four beasts did not believe him, Dan Wangkai asked, "Do you know what the Golden Wolf King's strongest move is?" Of course. Its strongest technique is its endless supply of qi and blood. Crocodile Emperor said. Yes. His blood essence is terrifying. It seems endless. But without the divine bow, it's useless no matter how much blood essence he has. So as long as the divine bow is destroyed, the Golden Wolf King is like a poisonous snake that has lost its fangs. It won't be a threat to us. Dan Wangkai said. Crocodile Emperor was surprised. You mean, Boss has the strength to destroy the divine bow? That's right. The young master doesn't want to destroy the divine bow. After all, it's a divine weapon. It's a pity to destroy it. But it's different now. The white-eyed wolf and Ling Yunfei have fallen into Lu Xingchen's hands. If the Golden Wolf King is still so stubborn, based on Boss's personality, he will definitely use some extreme methods. Dan Wangkai thought to himself. It would be such a pity to destroy the divine bow. Dan Wangkai, you have a good relationship with the boss. Why don't you persuade the boss not to do this until the last moment? The four beasts' hearts trembled, and they hurriedly transmitted their voices. Dan Wangkai was stunned and said with a bitter smile, "Do you all think that young master will listen to my advice? Even if you don't want to listen, you have to persuade him. I have to give it a try. After all, this is a divine artifact. If it's destroyed, wouldn't it be a waste?" The four beasts thought to themselves anxiously. Don't worry, the young master knows his limits. Don't be fooled by his silent and irritated look. He's actually very calm. That's the kind of person he is. The more dangerous it is, the calmer he is. Dan Wangkai snickered. All of a sudden, Qin Feiyong stopped and turned to look at Dan Wangkai. This sudden action made Dan Wangkai involuntarily nervous in his heart. He thought to himself, was the young master going to blame him? Because if he hadn't gone to look for him, the white-eyed wolf and Ling Yunfei wouldn't have been killed. Qin Feiyong was stunned. What are you nervous about? Dan Wangkai stuttered and lowered his head, like a child who had done something wrong. Qin Feiyong shook his head and laughed. It's very lucky that you didn't fall into the hands of Lu Xingchen. After all, you're the most important person in our team now. Dan Wangkai was stunned. Wang Yuer, who was at the side, also looked at Dan Wangkai in surprise. She had thought that this middle-aged man was at most a friend of Qin Feiyong. However, she didn't expect that his position in Qin Feiyong's heart was so high. The most important person. Who exactly was he? Qin Feiyong said, "You can't have an accident. Go to the castle and stay there." When Dan Wangkai heard this, he hurriedly said, "Brother Wolf was captured because of me. I want to stay outside and help." It's enough that you have the heart. Qin Feiyong smiled and said, "How did you meet Wang Yuer?" It's a long story. Not long after I entered the miracle, I encountered danger. It was she who helped me. She can be considered my savior. Dan Wangkai secretly said. Then why did you change your appearance? Qin Feiyong was puzzled. I was afraid of meeting people from the main tower. Because once they see my true appearance, they will be suspicious of Wang Zicheng and the others. Fortunately, I had the foresight to change my appearance as soon as I entered the miracle. Otherwise, I would have really bumped into Wang Yuer. Dan Wangkai transmitted his voice. Smart. Qin Feiyong secretly laughed. Dan Wangkai glanced at Wang Yuer next to him and said, "But this woman is a little strange." What's strange? Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed and asked. After knowing that I'm your subordinate, she actually wanted to go with me. She also said that this is what you owe her and that it's only right to protect her. Dan Wangkai secretly said. Qin Feiyang heard this and a hint of disappointment flashed in his eyes. He sighed and said, she still listened to the main tower master. The main tower master? Dan Wangkai was startled and asked suspiciously, what did the main tower master say? Qin Feiyang said, the main tower master asked her to get close to me and take the opportunity to attack me. What? Dan Wangkai's expression changed. I suspected that she had ulterior motives, but I didn't expect it to be true. How did you know? A few days ago, I met Gong Sun Bei and a dozen divine envoys. But the situation at that time was a little complicated, so I won't tell you one by one. However, under my interrogation, a few of the divine envoys said that the main tower master and the national teacher had joined forces. They also told me a shocking secret. Qin Feiyang secretly said. What secret? Dan Wangkai was surprised. Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. The main tower master and Wang Su have both reached the false god realm. What? Dan Wangkai's expression changed drastically. Why didn't Wang Zicheng and the others tell us such a big thing? I'm afraid they don't know either. Qin Feiyang secretly said. They've hidden it well. Dan Wangkai murmured. He glanced at Wang Yu again and transmitted his voice. What should we do with her now? If we keep her by our side, she's like a ticking time bomb that can kill us at any time. Do you have any good suggestions? Qin Feiyang asked. Me. Dan Wangkai pondered for a while and smiled secretly. If I say kill her directly, you won't be able to do it. After all, her feelings for you are obvious to everyone. That's as good as not saying anything. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. Dan Wangkai secretly said, so, it's useless to ask me. You have to deal with this matter yourself. Qin Feiyang fell silent. The Crocodile Emperor looked at Qin Feiyang and Dan Wangkai suspiciously. Why are the two of you looking at each other? Is there something we can't listen to? You talk too much. Qin Feiyang glared at the Crocodile Emperor, then looked at Wang Yu. Wang Yu glanced at Dan Wangkai, the Crocodile Emperor, and the four beasts. She then looked at Qin Feiyang and said, just say the word and I'll leave. The four beasts were stunned. The Scorpion Emperor said unhappily, why do you need Boss Qin to say the word? Why don't you leave on your own accord? The Crocodile Emperor grinned and said, little Scorpion, you don't understand. She wants Boss Qin to be a bad guy. Yeah. If she leaves on her own accord, what can we say? But if Boss Qin asks her to leave, she can go and gossip in front of others. The Ant Emperor and the Spider Emperor said coldly. Wang Yu glared at the four beasts and shouted, what do you know? What right do you have to be sarcastic? The Crocodile Emperor said calmly, we don't know anything, but there are some things that we shouldn't do unless it's in the first place. What do you mean? Wang Yu raised an eyebrow. You know what I mean. The four beasts sneered. Cough, cough. Qin Feiyang coughed and stopped the Crocodile Emperor and the four beasts. He looked at Wang Yu and said, I can let you stay, but you have to remember, it's not because I owe you anything, but because of our past relationship. Wang Yu said, don't you owe me? Qin Feiyang said, I've already repaid what I owe you. Wang Yu heard that and exploded on the spot. She shouted, can a few elixirs make up for the damage you've done to me? Cough, cough. Dan Wangkai coughed and said, let me remind you, those aren't ordinary elixirs. They're elixirs that unlock the door of potential. Others can't buy them with money. Who are you to speak here? Shut up. Wang Yu shouted. Dan Wangkai smiled embarrassedly. Wang Yu looked at Qin Feiyang and sneered. Why was I so blind back then? I didn't see that you were such a person. What kind of person am I? Qin Feiyang raised an eyebrow and said, yes, I admit that you have feelings for me, but what can I do? If I like you, I like you. If I don't like you, I don't like you. Do you want me to pretend to like you? Then why can't you like me? Am I not beautiful enough? Or not sensible enough? Or is my family background not good enough for you? Wang Yu said angrily. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but feel a headache. He said helplessly, You're very beautiful and sensible. Your family background is better than mine. I'm not good enough for you, okay? Don't make it sound so nice. If I'm really so good, won't you like me? Wang Yue lowered her head and looked sad. Tears flowed down her face. To each his own. Feelings can't be forced. You can try to let it go. Then you'll find that there are many outstanding men looking at you and admiring you. Qin Feiyong sighed. Wang Yue looked up at Qin Feiyong and said, but in my heart. In your heart. Qin Feiyong was suspicious. Ahem. Dan Wangkai went up and poked Qin Feiyong's arm. He chuckled and said, young master, she means that you're the only one in her heart. Boss, we can understand it even though we don't know the situation, but you still can't figure it out. Your EQ is worrying. The Crocodile Emperor and the four beasts also ran to Qin Feiyong's shoulder and laughed. Qin Feiyong's face darkened. He glared at Dan Wangkai and the four beasts, then looked at Wang Yue with a responsible expression. Sigh. A moment later. He sighed and said, time can change everything. I believe that one day you will forget me. As for now, you can stay in the castle. Let me know when you want to leave. I don't want to. Chapter 1505. What's going on? Dan Wangkai, Emperor Crocodile, and the other beasts looked at each other. Wasn't this woman here to kill Qin Feiyong? Why was she hugging him? Qin Feiyong didn't know where to put his hands. I don't want to leave you. To be honest, I used to hate you. However, when I saw you earlier, I realized that I was simply unable to bring myself to hate you. Tell me, what's wrong with me? I can change. Wang Yue buried her head deep in Qin Feiyong's arms and whispered. Her tears flowed like a fountain, looking pitiful. Feeling the delicate body twitching in his embrace, Qin Feiyong sighed inwardly and felt inexplicably sad in his heart. He didn't want to hurt this woman, but fate made fools of him. He, Qin Feiyong, had never been a fickle person, but he was always merciful. Why did God torture him like this? All of a sudden, Emperor Crocodile's pupils shrank and said, do you think this woman is pretending to be pitiful? Pretending to be pitiful? Dan Wangkai, Emperor Crocodile, and the other beasts were stunned. Emperor Crocodile said, she knows Boss and knows that Boss is vigilant. So, she's using this trick to gain Boss's sympathy and make Boss let down his guard. Dan Wangkai's eyes trembled and said, that's possible. Everyone, watch carefully. Don't let her succeed. Okay. The four beasts nodded subtly. They didn't show it on the surface, but they were secretly on the lookout. But in the end, what they expected didn't happen. Wang Yue stood up from Qin Feiyong's arms and held Qin Feiyong's hand. Her eyes softened and said, I don't expect you to give me all your love, but I hope you can share a little with me. Why do you have to do this? Qin Feiyong sighed deeply. Wang Yue smiled and said, I'm willing to continue waiting for you. Even if it's all in vain, I won't regret it. Is this a confession? Emperor Crocodile thought to himself. Nonsense, if it's not a confession, then what is? Dan Wangkai rolled his eyes at it, and then looked at Qin Feiyong as if it was the first time he had seen him. He said to himself, but I just can't figure it out. What can't you figure out? The four beasts looked at him suspiciously. Look, young master's looks are just like that. Why is he so charming? Look at me. My looks and talent are not bad. Why hasn't anyone taken the initiative to confess to me? Dan Wangkai rubbed his chin and frowned, looking puzzled. The four beasts were stunned. Then they rolled their eyes at Dan Wangkai. Suddenly, Wang Yue let go of Qin Feiyong's hand and turned to look at Dan Wangkai and the Crocodile Emperor. Why are you looking at us? Dan Wangkai and the four beasts were suspicious. Wang Yue said apologetically, I apologize for my previous attitude. I'm sorry. Dan Wangkai and the four beasts didn't know what to do. This woman's change was too fast. Wang Yue smiled and said, my tone and attitude towards you guys just now should have annoyed you. Dan Wangkai and the four beasts looked at each other and didn't know how to answer. I understand even if you don't say it. To be honest, I hate my previous attitude. But don't worry, I won't do it again. If you don't mind, let's be friends in the future. Wang Yue smiled. There was no trace of pretense and she was full of sincerity. No. It's our honor to be friends with you. Dan Wangkai and the four beasts quickly smiled. Wang Yuer smiled and turned to Qin Feiyong again. After a moment of silence she said, "Actually, there's something I've been hiding from you." "What is it?" Qin Feiyong asked. "It's about the chief pagoda master. Before entering the miracle, he found me and asked me to find a chance to get close to you. Along the way, I've been hesitating. When I was hugging you just now, I had the chance to make a move on you, but I really couldn't do it." Wang Yuer whispered. Qin Feiyong, Dan Wangkai, and the four beasts looked at each other at the same time. They didn't expect Wang Yuer to be honest. Did this mean that she had given up on this matter for the sake of love? Qin Feiyong said, "Aren't you afraid that the chief pagoda master and your grandfather will be angry with you for telling me this?" "I'm afraid. That's what I wanted to say. Can you find a chance to talk to my grandfather and the rest? It's best if you can reconcile so that I won't be in a difficult position." Wang Yuer raised her head and looked at Qin Feiyong, her beautiful eyes full of expectation. "Reconcile?" Qin Feiyong murmured and shook his head. "I've never thought of going against your grandfather and the rest. When I entered the chief pagoda to snatch the divine crystals, it was completely out of helplessness." Wang Yuer asked, "So you want to reconcile?" "Of course. Who wouldn't be happy to have one less enemy? But I'm worried that your grandfather and the chief pagoda master might not reconcile with me," Qin Feiyong said. "Don't worry. My grandfather is not an unreasonable person. As long as you show your sincerity, he will definitely forgive you," Wang Yuer said with a smile. Qin Feiyong pondered for a while and nodded with a smile. "All right, I'll try my best. Thank you." Wang Yuer once again snuggled into Qin Feiyong's arms like a little bird, and her beautiful face was filled with a happy smile. After being together for so long, Qin Feiyong had never seen such a docile side of her. "I didn't expect such a fierce woman to have such a feminine side." Dan Wangkai secretly laughed. "This is the power of love. But I have to admit that this woman is very brave. In order to pursue love, she is willing to let go of hatred. I just don't know if the two of them will be together in the end. Actually, I think that Boss Qin should cherish her. After all, in this world, it's very rare to have a woman who likes you so much." The four beasts secretly communicated. "I didn't expect you guys to have some understanding of human feelings." Dan Wangkai looked at the four beasts in surprise. "You haven't seen a pig run, but you haven't eaten pork? Don't think that we don't know anything just because we're beasts. We know more things than you." The four beasts snorted. Dan Wangkai shook his head and smiled bitterly. Looking at Qin Feiyong, he coughed and said, "Young master, let me kindly remind you that the white-eyed wolf and Ling Yunfei are still waiting for us to save them. Aren't you just making trouble? Can't you see that they are being intimate? As for the white-eyed wolf and Ling Yunfei, Lu Xingchen won't hurt them anyway. Don't worry." The crocodile emperor and the four beasts stared at Dan Wangkai. Then the ant emperor looked at Qin Feiyong and smiled. "Boss, you guys continue. We'll walk around nearby. Call us when you're done." Without waiting for Qin Feiyong to react, the ant emperor looked at Dan Wangkai who was in a daze and said angrily, "What are you doing? Let's go. Don't tell me you want to be a light bulb?" "Oh." Dan Wangkai nodded instinctively and turned around to follow the crocodile emperor. Something's not right. Suddenly, Dan Wangkai stopped and thought about it carefully. He suddenly glared at the crocodile emperor and the four beasts. "I was almost led into a ditch by you guys. The young master doesn't have this kind of feeling for Wang Yuer. Aren't you guys deliberately making things difficult for the young master?" Dan Wangkai frowned. "This kind of feeling can be cultivated slowly. Boss doesn't have feelings for Wang Yuer now, but it doesn't mean he won't in the future. Let's go. There are 10 suns here. We don't need a light bulb like you." The four beasts forcefully tugged at the Pill King's wealth. "Have you guys had enough?" Qin Feiyong said angrily. The four beasts immediately let go of Dan Wangkai and looked at Qin Feiyong. They smiled and said, "Boss, did we disturb you? We'll leave immediately." Qin Feiyong's face darkened and he gently pushed Wang Yuer away. Wang Yuer, on the other hand, was all smiles. She even cast a grateful look at the Scorpion Emperor and the other two beasts. This was probably the most sincere and brilliant smile she had had in a long time. I say, are you guys done yet? Qin Feiyong glanced at the four beasts. He couldn't wait to beat them up. Weren't they causing trouble for him? The four beasts were also afraid that Qin Feiyong would beat them up, so they all retreated far away and smiled sneakily. Qin Feiyong shook his head helplessly. It was his bad luck to meet this group of beasts. You guys go to the castle. Qin Feiyong looked at Dan Wangkai and Wang Yuer. Wang Yuer nodded. Dan Wangkai glanced at Wang Yuer and said, should I continue to hide my identity from her? Qin Feiyong pondered for a moment and said, just in case, let's keep it a secret. Okay. Dan Wangkai replied secretly. Qin Feiyong waved his hand and the two immediately disappeared without a trace. Boss, are you really not going to think about it? The Crocodile Emperor and the other beasts came over and asked softly. Think about what? Qin Feiyong was suspicious. What else can I think about? Of course it's Wang Yuer. The Ant Emperor snickered. Qin Feiyong immediately waved his hand and knocked it hard on the head, causing the Ant Emperor to grimace in pain. Does it hurt? Qin Feiyong asked. Yes. The Ant Emperor nodded. If you know it hurts, don't cause trouble for me in the future. Qin Feiyong said. I'm not causing trouble. I'm doing this for your own good. You even hit me. You really don't deserve my kindness. The Ant Emperor grumbled unhappily. What did you say? Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows. Nothing. Nothing. The Ant Emperor hurriedly shook its head. Qin Feiyong looked at it angrily, then looked at the three beasts with a straight face and said, and you guys, if you dare to talk nonsense again, I won't let you off. Yes, yes, yes. The three beasts obeyed. Let's go. Qin Feiyong said and used the phantom steps to rush to the Bone Canyon. The four beasts looked at each other and smiled bitterly. They wanted to do them a favor and play matchmaker. But they didn't expect it to backfire. Instead, they were taught a lesson. It seemed that it was better to stay out of this kind of thing in the future. When Qin Feiyong and the four beasts arrived at the Bone Canyon, they found that there wasn't even a single ghost wolf. The Crocodile Emperor raised its eyebrows and said, they really hid. Qin Feiyong jumped up and quickly climbed to the top of a mountain like an ape. He stood at the edge of the cliff and scanned the canyon and the mountains on both sides of the canyon. Not to mention the Golden Wolf King. There wasn't even a single ghost wolf. What should we do? Chapter 1506. Qin Feiyong pondered for a while and said, no matter what, we have to find them. No, we have to find the Golden Wolf King. The four beasts looked at each other. Crocodile Emperor looked at the three beasts and said, let's split up and look for them. Be careful. Okay. The three beasts nodded. Whoosh. The four beasts immediately turned into a stream of light and disappeared from Qin Feiyong's sight. Qin Feiyong stood at the top of the mountain, paying attention to the four beasts through the slave seal. Time passed little by little. 2 hours later, the four beasts returned. We've searched the area within a radius of 10,000 miles, but we didn't find any trace of the ghost wolf. Boss, it's impossible to find it if we continue to search aimlessly. We have to think of a way. The four beasts looked at Qin Feiyong and said. Qin Feiyong frowned and sighed. If only the white-eyed wolf was here. It could track the Golden Wolf King's scent. Track the scent. The four beasts looked at each other. Suddenly, Scorpion Emperor's eyes lit up. He leaned close to Qin Feiyong's ear and whispered, Boss, I have an idea. What idea? Qin Feiyong asked. Scorpion Emperor whispered a few words in Qin Feiyong's ear. This. Hearing this, Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows. Scorpion Emperor said, this is the only way now. Qin Feiyong gritted his teeth and nodded. Okay, wait for me here. I'll go talk to Lu Xingqian. After saying that, he turned and jumped down the mountain. He used the phantom steps and went back the way he came. After a while, he rushed back to the valley. But Lu Xingqian had already disappeared. But Qin Feiyong knew that he definitely didn't leave. Lu Xingqian! Qin Feiyong shouted. His shout reverberated in the valley, lingering in the air. Whoosh! The next moment, Lu Xingchen appeared from the spatial divine object and said with a smile, "Brother Qin's efficiency is indeed extraordinary." Qin Feiyong said, "I haven't caught the Golden Wolf King yet." Ugh! Lu Xingchen was stunned. When he came back to his senses, he asked suspiciously, "Then why did you come back?" Qin Feiyong said, "The Golden Wolf King has gone into hiding. I need the white-eyed wolf's help." I'm afraid that's not appropriate. Don't misunderstand. It's not that I don't trust you. It's just that the white-eyed wolf is too important. I feel like only he can make you so anxious." Lu Xingchen said. "Cut the crap. I've already made up my mind when I came here. I'll exchange someone for the white-eyed wolf." Qin Feiyong said impatiently. "Exchange? That's fine. But it has to be an equivalent exchange," Lu Xingchen said with a smile. In other words, he needed to find someone comparable to the white-eyed wolf. Qin Feiyong glanced at Lu Xingchen and entered the castle. He looked at the Phantom Snake Emperor Fatso and the others and said, "You all heard what happened outside. I don't want to say anything more. Who's willing to exchange for the white-eyed wolf?" "Me." Lu Hong was the first to stand up. She looked at Qin Feiyong and said, "Lu Xingchen knows how important I am to you, so he will definitely agree to let me exchange with Brother Wolf." "No, Lu Xingchen is such a dangerous person. How can I let a woman like you take the risk?" "Boss, I'll go." Fatso stepped in front of Lu Hong and looked at Qin Feiyong. Lu Hong said angrily, "Damn Fatso, can't you see us women? I'm not looking down on you. There are so many men here. If we let a woman like you go, won't we be laughed at in the future?" "This is a matter of face," Fatso said. "I didn't know you were a male chauvinist." Lu Hong said, "Stop fighting, all of you." At this moment, Lu Zhang got up and walked to Qin Feiyong. He said with a smile, "Let me go. In terms of importance, I'm the genius of the Lu family. I'm more important than any of them. If you go, Fat Lord won't have any objections." Fatty chuckled and retreated to the side. "Damn." Lu Zhang immediately raised his middle finger with a look of disdain. "I object," Lu Hong said. "Why do you object?" Lu Zhang was suspicious. Lu Hong said, "It's because you're the genius of the Lu family that we can't let you take the risk." Lu Zhang was stunned and said with a smile, "Honger, are you concerned about me?" Lu Hong blushed and snorted. "Don't flatter yourself. I'm just thinking about Qin Feiyong. If you have an accident here, how will Qin Feiyong explain it to Second Grandpa and the others when we go back?" Lu Zhang was not angry at all. He said with a smile, "If you care about me, just say it. Don't make such a lame excuse." "You." Looking at this shameless guy, Lu Hong couldn't help but want to scold him. "Enough. I know what you mean, but no matter what, I can't let you take the risk. Because you're the woman I like. I'll protect you with my life." Lu Zhang looked at Lu Hong seriously and said, "TSK, TSK, TSK. First, Wang Yu are confessed to boss. Now, Lu Hong officially confessed to Lu Hong. What day is it today? Why isn't anyone confessing to Fat Lord?" Fatso looked at them with envy and jealousy. Lu Hong's face turned even redder. She lowered her head and didn't dare to look into everyone's eyes. "There's a chance," Qin Feiyong muttered. From Lu Hong's expression, it wasn't hard to tell that she had already developed a good impression of Lu Zhang. It was just that she didn't want to accept it now. However, Qin Feiyong didn't notice that Luo Qingzhu, who was at the side, looked a little disappointed. However, Miss Longfeng noticed it, but she didn't say anything. Her eyes flickered with an inexplicable color. Qin Feiyong glanced at them and said to Lu Zheng, "All right then, you'll go." With that, Lu Zheng left the castle. Seeing Lu Zheng appear, Lu Xingchen was also rather surprised. Lu Zhang glanced at Lu Xingchen and said indifferently, "Call out the white-eyed wolf, I'll exchange with him." "Ha ha," Lu Xingchen laughed out loud, looked at Qin Feiyong and said, "You actually let him out, you're really willing." Qin Feiyong said angrily, "Do you still want the Golden Wolf King? So much nonsense." "Yes. Of course I do." Lu Xingchen nodded and smiled. The white-eyed wolf immediately appeared, still tied up in chains. Lu Zhang took a step forward and landed beside Lu Xingchen. I await the good news. Lu Xingchen looked at Qin Feiyong and smiled proudly, then disappeared with Lu Zhang. Let's see how long you can be proud of yourself. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed fiercely. He walked in front of the white-eyed wolf, took out the Chong Shui, and quickly cut the chains. Bastard! After regaining his freedom, the white-eyed wolf immediately stood up, his anger soaring to the sky. Qin Feiyong said telepathically, "We'll remember this. Quickly take me to the Golden Wolf King." Okay. The white-eyed wolf nodded, turned around, and rushed toward White Bones Canyon. Qin Feiyong also turned and chased after him, asking, "Did Lu Xingchen do anything to you and Ling Yunfei? Or did he say anything? Did he dare to do anything to us?" The white-eyed wolf snorted and said, "But he did say something." What did he say? Qin Feiyong was curious. He still hasn't changed his mind and wants me to follow him. He also asked Ling Yunfei how he survived in the Swallow Pan Mountain Range. But we didn't answer. The white-eyed wolf said. Qin Feiyong joked, "It seems that he likes you very much. Why don't you follow him? After all, he used to be a god of war. He must be of great help to you." Yes. Why didn't I think of that? You go find the Golden Wolf King yourself. I'll go and have a good talk with him. The white-eyed wolf said, turned around and rushed toward the valley. Qin Feiyong's face darkened. He pulled it back and said angrily, "Are you really going to follow him? Heartless bastard." As expected of the white-eyed wolf. "Didn't you ask me to follow him? I'll do as you wish. Is that not enough?" The white-eyed wolf frowned. Qin Feiyong said angrily, "That's just a joke. Don't you understand?" The white-eyed wolf said indifferently, "Sorry, I was born stupid. I can't tell what's a joke." Okay. I'll apologize to you, okay?" Qin Feiyong was helpless. If an apology is useful, why do I need justice? Be careful what you say in the future. Some jokes can't be made. The white-eyed wolf snorted and continued to run toward the Bone Canyon. Qin Feiyong smiled bitterly. He had really lifted a brick and smashed his own foot. A moment later, a man and a wolf climbed to the top of the mountain and met up with the Scorpion King and the other two beasts. "Boss Wolf, I missed you so much." The Scorpion King immediately gave the white-eyed wolf a warm hug. "Get lost. I'm not in the mood to talk to you." The white-eyed wolf waved its claws, pushed the Scorpion King away, and scanned the canyon and mountains ahead. Qin Feiyong asked, "How's the situation?" The Crocodile King said, "Not a single white-eyed wolf appeared while you were away. No matter how good they are at hiding, they can't escape my nose. You guys wait for me here." The white-eyed wolf snorted and jumped down, searching the ground for the Golden Wolf King's scent. The Spider King said, "Boss Qin, can Boss Wolf really do it?" "Don't worry. Its nose is very sensitive." Before Qin Feiyong could speak, the Scorpion King beat him to it. Because it had spent some time alone with the white-eyed wolf, it knew the white-eyed wolf better than the Crocodile King, the Spider King, and the Ant King. "It is very sensitive. We used to rely on its nose to avoid many dangers and solve many problems. This time, it will definitely work." Qin Feiyong smiled. The Crocodile King snickered. "I think it must be a big wolf dog in its previous life." Shh! Qin Feiyong's face changed. He quickly made a shushing gesture to the Crocodile King and whispered, "Don't let it hear you, or you'll have to bear the consequences." Thinking back, Fatso and Ling Yunfei, which one of them had not been taken advantage of? It was because they said the white-eyed wolf had a dog's nose. Understood. The Crocodile King nodded. While they were talking, the white-eyed wolf searched all the way and climbed to the top of a mountain not far away. It searched along the cliff for a while, and its eyes suddenly lit up. "Found it. Come quickly." It looked up at Qin Feiyong and the Crocodile King and the other three beasts and shouted. Qin Feiyong was delighted and smiled. "Found it so quickly. A dog's nose is a dog's nose. Let's go." One man and four beasts jumped down and quickly climbed to the top of the mountain where the white-eyed wolf was. The white-eyed wolf said, "It's been too long. The scent is very faint." This. Chapter 1507. However, there are a lot of ghost wolves and their scent is strong. It's not hard to track them down. Follow me. The white-eyed wolf turned around and jumped down. However, he did not enter the Bone Canyon. Instead, he entered the mountain range on the left side of the canyon. Can't you say it all in one breath? Qin Feiyong glared at the white-eyed wolf angrily and quickly chased after him. The crocodile emperor and the other three beasts also quickly followed. When the white-eyed wolf first said that the golden wolf king's scent was very faint, Qin Feiyong was really frightened. In the mountain range below, there were layers upon layers of mountains and the terrain was dangerous. Under the baking of 10 suns, there was no water or plants in the mountains. The dry and cracked ground was horrible to look at. And there was no sound in the mountains. It was so quiet that it made one's hair stand on end. The white-eyed wolf took the lead and followed the scent of the ghost wolves, shuttling between the mountains. Although the scent of the golden wolf king was not obvious, as long as they could find a ghost wolf, they could follow the clues and find the hiding place of the golden wolf king. A few hours passed. Under the lead of the white-eyed wolf, the group of people went hundreds of thousands of miles deep into the mountain range. Suddenly, the white-eyed wolf stopped in front of a huge mountain. The huge mountain was more than 10,000 feet tall and towered into the sky. It exuded a majestic aura that shocked people's hearts. Everyone stood at the foot of the mountain and looked up at the huge mountain. They could not help but feel small in their hearts. Why did you stop here? Qin Feiyong retracted his gaze and looked at the white-eyed wolf. The white-eyed wolf scanned the huge mountain and his eyes were full of suspicion. He said, "The scent here is particularly strong. And I can clearly smell the scent of the golden wolf king." Qin Feiyong was surprised and looked up at the huge mountain. "I'll go ahead and take a look," the white-eyed wolf said and disappeared like lightning. A short while later, it ran back to Qin Feiyong and said, "There's also the scent of the ghost wolf ahead, but there's no scent of the golden wolf king." Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed as he stared at the giant peak. "That means the golden wolf king is..." "That's right. It's here." A cold light flashed in the white-eyed wolf's eyes. His aura surged as he pounced towards the giant peak. Rumble! Accompanied by an earth-shattering explosion, the giant mountain instantly shattered into pieces. It turned out that the inside of the giant mountain was hollow. There were over 10,000 ghost wolves gathered inside. Roar! Just as the mountain cracked open, ghost wolves roared out one after another. Most of them were 6-star combat emperors and below. Of course, the 9-star battle Thearka's ghost wolf also had one. After they came out, they surrounded Qin Feiyong, the white-eyed wolf, the scorpion king, and the other three beasts. They bared their fangs and glared fiercely. Boom! Crack! The giant mountain crumbled. The earth trembled and cracked. The sound was deafening. Roar! Accompanied by an exceptionally loud wolf howl, the golden wolf king rushed out of the dust and landed in front of Qin Feiyong. "I hid so well, but you guys still found me. Do you guys have a dog's nose?" The golden wolf king was depressed. "Dog's nose?" The scorpion king and the other three beasts were shocked. They turned around and glanced at the white-eyed wolf. Indeed, the white-eyed wolf stared at the golden wolf king. His eyes were burning with anger. "What are you looking at? Are you courting death?" A few 9-star battle Thearka's ghost wolves noticed the white-eyed wolf's gaze and shouted fiercely. "You guys are the ones courting death." The white-eyed wolf's eyes turned cold. The golden wolf king looked at the white-eyed wolf. It was as if he had discovered a new continent. His eyes were full of surprise. "If you don't want to die, come with us," the white-eyed wolf said. The golden wolf king was stunned. He mocked, "You're just an ordinary wolf cub. How dare you be so arrogant in front of us ghost wolves?" "I'm ordinary?" The white-eyed wolf was stunned. He was so angry that he laughed. Roar! Suddenly, a golden light rushed out from his body. A huge beast shadow instantly appeared above the white-eyed wolf's head. The beast shadow stepped on the ground and its head reached the sky. It was as if a divine emperor had descended. The golden light shone in all directions. "What kind of fighting soul is this? It's so oppressive." The golden wolf king was shocked. Facing the golden beast shadow was like facing the king of all beasts. He couldn't help but feel a sense of awe and fear. The other ghost wolves felt the same way. They even had an impulse to prostrate and worship it. "How dare you!" The 5 ghost wolves with 9-star combat emperors couldn't stand the pressure. They roared fiercely and the shadows of beasts appeared behind them. Ferocious aura spread in all directions. They also activated their fighting souls and wanted to compete with the white-eyed wolf. This was because the white-eyed wolf's cultivation was lower than theirs. To them, it was a disgrace to be intimidated by the white-eyed wolf's fighting soul. To put it bluntly, they just couldn't accept it. Seeing this, the crocodile emperor's expression changed. He shouted, "Boss Wolf, you're no match for them. Step back." The crocodile emperor wanted to help, but the scorpion emperor suddenly stretched out his claws and pulled it back. What? The crocodile emperor raised his eyebrows. In terms of strength, Boss Wolf is no match for them. But in terms of fighting souls, hee. Even if the Golden Wolf King comes personally, he's no match for Boss Wolf. The scorpion emperor laughed. Ah. The crocodile emperor was stunned. The spider emperor and the ant emperor looked at each other. Was it that powerful? Just wait and see. I guarantee that you'll be shocked. The reason why I chose to follow Boss Wolf was because of his battle soul, said the emperor. The scorpion emperor said confidently. The crocodile emperor and the other 2 beasts looked at each other and couldn't help but look forward to it. Looking at the Wolf King again. Looking at the few fighting souls of the ghost wolves. His eyes were filled with disdain. Deprive. Suddenly, it roared. The golden beast shadow opened its mouth wide and a gust of wind suddenly blew in this place. Sand and stones flew everywhere. Following closely, the few fighting souls of the ghost wolves involuntarily flew towards the golden beast shadow. What's going on? The few ghost wolves suddenly panicked. Swallow. The white-eyed wolf roared again. Although it had a small body, its voice was loud and earth-shaking. Immediately, the few fighting souls of the ghost wolves were swallowed by the golden beast shadow. This, my fighting soul. What did you do to us? Where are our fighting souls? The few ghost wolves immediately panicked and roared at the white-eyed wolf. Boss Wolf's innate superpower is called Deprive. Deprive all fighting souls. In other words, as long as the fighting soul is swallowed by Boss Wolf, it will be lost forever. The Scorpion Emperor laughed cruelly. What? The few ghost wolves' faces changed color. The Golden Wolf King was also shocked and quickly retreated. When he saw the white-eyed wolf again, his huge eyes were filled with fear. The Crocodile Emperor, the Spider Emperor, and the Ant Emperor were also dumbfounded. In fact, these days, they had also heard of the white-eyed wolf's fighting soul. But it was the first time they saw it with their own eyes. Deprive fighting soul. Oh my God! How could there be such a terrifying fighting soul in this world? This was simply the nemesis of all fighting souls. Who would dare to activate their fighting souls in front of the white-eyed wolf? No wonder even the arrogant Scorpion Emperor was so polite and respectful to it. It turned out that it had such a heaven-defying method. The other ghost wolves around looked at the white-eyed wolf and kept quiet out of fear. Aren't you guys very powerful? Come on. Continue. The white-eyed wolf looked at the few 9-star combat emperor ghost wolves and laughed sinisterly. The pupils of the few ghost wolves shrank and they did not dare to take a step forward. The Golden Wolf King sized up the white-eyed wolf and asked suspiciously, "You have such a heaven-defying fighting soul. Why do you still want to follow a human?" "I like to. What can you do?" The white-eyed wolf snorted. "What a pity. What a pity. Why don't you join us and dominate this region with us?" The Golden Wolf King tempted. "Dominate this region? Aren't you too unambitious?" "My goal is to dominate this world and this universe." The white-eyed wolf looked disdainful. "Ah." The Golden Wolf King was stunned and said disdainfully, "You? Although your fighting soul is powerful, as long as we don't activate our fighting souls, what can you do to us?" "What about me?" Qin Feiyong took a step forward. "You." The Golden Wolf King glanced at Qin Feiyong with disdain. "What can a mere human do? Killing you is as easy as killing a dog." Qin Feiyong sneered and took out the Chong Shui. He used the phantom steps and appeared in front of the Golden Wolf King in half a blink of an eye. "You are courting death." The Golden Wolf King snorted and the divine bow appeared. Blood chi surged out. The divine bow was awakened immediately and exuded a destructive aura. "Do we really have to destroy the divine bow?" The Crocodile Emperor and the other three beasts mumbled and their eyes were filled with reluctance. However, Qin Feiyong did not hesitate. He grabbed the Chang Shui and slashed at the divine bow. Clang! Sparks flew. With an ear-piercing sound, the divine bow broke on the spot. What? The Golden Wolf King froze. The other ghost wolves also looked at this scene in disbelief. Their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. A divine weapon was broken just like that? What kind of dagger was that? It was so terrifying. What a pity. What a pity. The Crocodile Emperor shook its head and sighed. The Ant Emperor and the other two beasts also felt sorry. If I didn't want this divine bow, I would have destroyed it when we were at the water source. I really don't know why you are so arrogant in front of me. Qin Feiyong took a step forward and placed the Chang Shui on the Golden Wolf King's neck. The bone-piercing sharpness made the Golden Wolf King tremble uncontrollably. A sense of panic rose in its heart. Even a divine artifact could be easily cut apart, let alone a body of flesh and blood like this. Well, the Golden Wolf King smiled awkwardly and said, "Didn't you say not long ago that you want me to follow you? We can talk about it now." Don't you think it's too late to talk about it now? The Crocodile Emperor and the other three beasts sneered. It's not too late. It's not too late at all. I'm very sincere. You must believe in me. The Golden Wolf King quickly said with a flattering smile. Qin Feiyong looked at the Golden Wolf King without saying a word. His expression was uncertain. The white-eyed wolf reminded, "Little Qin Zi, Ling Yunfei and Lu Zhang are still waiting for us to save them." Yes. Lu Xingchen said he wants it. If we don't give it to Lu Xingchen, I'm afraid. The Crocodile Emperor was also worried. What did you say? Is it Lu Xingchen who wants me? The Golden Wolf King asked. That's right. Lu Xingchen captured Boss Qin's friend and asked us to take you to the exchange. The Scorpion King said. Chapter 1508. You're a wolf. Why would you be afraid of a tiger? The Scorpion King and the other beasts sneered. You can't say that. Although he's only a combat emperor now, he used to be a true god of war. Do you think I can defeat him? The Golden Wolf King said. The white-eyed wolf said coldly, So you think you can defeat little Qin Zi? Did I say that? Don't slander me. The Golden Wolf King said angrily. Its expression was full of anxiety. Enough! Qin Feiyong shouted impatiently. The beasts immediately shut their mouths, and the place fell silent. Qin Feiyong looked at the Golden Wolf King and said, If you don't want to face Lu Xingchen, tell me what's going on with the qi and blood in your body. The Golden Wolf King hesitated. I can kill you at any time. Qin Feiyong moved the Chang Shui in his hand. The sharp blade immediately cut the Golden Wolf King's skin, and blood dripped down. The Golden Wolf King's body tensed up. It hurriedly said, I'll talk. This is because... But at this point it fell silent again. Tuck! Qin Feiyong shouted. Killing intent surged in his eyes. The Golden Wolf King trembled and said, It's because of a bead. It's this bead that gives me endless qi and blood. A bead? Qin Feiyong and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other. Their eyes were full of surprise. What kind of bead could have such a heaven-defying ability? Qin Feiyong said, Show it to me. The Golden Wolf King hesitated. Hurry! Qin Feiyong's patience was almost worn out. Looking at Qin Feiyong's murderous gaze, the Golden Wolf King sighed helplessly. A blood-red light shot out from its body. An exuberant qi and blood instantly enveloped the surroundings. Moreover, there was also a terrifying divine might. Qin Feiyong, the white-eyed wolf, the Crocodile Emperor, and the other three beasts were all surprised. It really was a bead. It was only the size of a pellet and was completely blood-red. At first glance, it looked as if it was cast from flesh and blood. Everyone found it hard to imagine how such a bead could possess such a terrifying amount of qi and blood. The Golden Wolf King said, I found this in an ancient ruin. I call it the Blood Pearl. Qi and Blood Pearl. Qin Feiyong murmured. The qi and Blood Pearl had divine power, which meant that it was a divine item, and an incredible one at that. However, he had never heard of such a divine item that could provide people with qi and blood. The Golden Wolf King looked at Qin Feiyong anxiously and said, You've seen it. Can you return it to me now? Return it to you? The Crocodile Emperor and the other three beasts immediately laughed mockingly. The Golden Wolf King's eyelids twitched. He hurriedly looked at Qin Feiyong and said, Boss Qin, I gave you the Qi and Blood Pearl because I trust you. You can't take it by force and keep it for yourself. Qin Feiyong said lightly, I thank you for your trust, but I'll keep this Qi and Blood Pearl for now. Actually, he was worried that this Qi and Blood Pearl would fall into the hands of Lu Xingchen. Lu Xingchen was already difficult enough to deal with now. If he got this Qi and Blood Pearl, it would undoubtedly be like adding wings to a tiger. It would be even more difficult to deal with in the future. You? The Golden Wolf King's eyes were burning with anger. He roared, I was really blind to believe the nonsense of you humans. Humph! Even if you don't give it to me, this Qi and Blood Pearl will still be mine after I kill you. Moreover, when did I say that I would return it to you? Qin Feiyong snorted coldly. As soon as the Golden Wolf King heard this, he immediately slumped to the ground weakly. The divine bow was destroyed, and the Qi and Blood Pearl was snatched away. It was beaten back to its original state. It would be better to just kill it directly. Don't blame Boss. You asked for it. If you hadn't backstabbed us previously, Boss wouldn't have snatched your Qi and Blood Pearl at all, let alone destroy the divine bow. Because Boss is not that kind of greedy person at all. The Crocodile Emperor snorted coldly. In fact, no one had any prejudice against the Golden Wolf King. The only thing that annoyed everyone was that when Qin Feiyong and Lu Xingchen were fighting, this guy actually backstabbed them and took the opportunity to slip away. Wasn't this behavior treating everyone as fools? Stop being so pretentious. If he wasn't greedy, why would your armor be on him? I think you're stupid. Your armor was snatched away and you still speak up for him. The Golden Wolf King sneered. Haha. The Crocodile Emperor laughed. The Scorpion Emperor and the other two beasts were also laughing. What are you laughing at? The Golden Wolf King raised his eyebrows. You better prick up your ears and listen carefully. Boss didn't steal this emperor's armor. This emperor gave it to him willingly. The Crocodile Emperor said. What? Willingly? The Golden Wolf King was dumbfounded. That's right. From the beginning to the end, he never forced me to give him my armor. The Crocodile Emperor sneered. Why? That's a divine artifact. Are you crazy? The Golden Wolf King said angrily. Because he's worth it. Although he's not a good person, he treats me as a friend and a brother. The Crocodile Emperor said. Little crocodile, why are you telling it this? It won't understand even if you tell it. Don't waste your breath. The Scorpion Emperor and the other two beasts waved their claws. The Golden Wolf King looked at the four beasts in a daze. Then, it turned to look at Qin Feiyong, its eyes full of suspicion. It couldn't figure it out. What kind of charm did this human have? How could he make the four beasts, who had always been proud and aloof, submit to him willingly in such a short time? Qin Feiyong asked, Did you drip your blood on this Qi and Blood Pearl to claim ownership? Yes. The Golden Wolf King nodded. Erase the blood contract inside. Qin Feiyong said in a tone that brooked no discussion. Sigh. The Golden Wolf King let out a long sigh. With a thought, the blood contract inside the Qi and Blood Pearl instantly dissipated. Qin Feiyong also immediately cut his finger and dripped his blood on it to claim ownership. After the blood contract was completed, he kept the Qi and Blood Pearl in his body. Qin Feiyong immediately revealed a look of bewilderment. After the Qi and Blood Pearl entered his body, it didn't return to his energy reserve. Instead, it went straight to his heart. In the end, the Qi and Blood Pearl merged with his heart. The moment it merged, Qin Feiyong immediately felt as if there was an additional spring of life in his heart. His Qi and blood were unprecedentedly vigorous. The Golden Wolf King glanced at Qin Feiyong and snorted. The Qi and Blood Pearl can not only provide Qi and blood, but also protect your heart. Even if you encounter a divine weapon in the future, it may not be able to hurt your heart. TSK, TSK, TSK. It's really a divine item. Heard of it? The four beasts were speechless. The white-eyed wolf glanced at the Golden Wolf King, then looked at Qin Feiyong and said, Little Qin Zi, quickly take it to see Lu Xingchen. What? I've already given you the Qi and Blood Pearl. Why do you still want me to see Lu Xingqian? The Golden Wolf King's expression changed and he hurriedly shouted. The Crocodile Emperor gloated. What can we do? Lu Xingqian specifically asked for you. Big brother Qin, I really don't want to go. Moreover, the Qi and Blood Pearl is now in your hands. When Lu Xingqian sees me and realizes that I'm worthless, won't he just kill me? I don't want to die. I beg you, please be merciful and let me go, okay? I have an 80-year-old mother and a crying wolf pup waiting to be fed. I can't die. The Golden Wolf King lay on the ground and looked at Qin Feiyong pitifully, begging repeatedly. The Crocodile Emperor and the 4 beasts were stunned. This guy was too good at bragging. An 80-year-old mother? A crying wolf pup waiting to be fed? How could he think of that? More shameless than me? I'm impressed. The white-eyed wolf also shook his head, his eyes full of disdain. Even Qin Feiyong couldn't help but want to laugh. He lowered his head and pondered for a while, then said, My friend is still in Lu Xingqian's hands, so no matter what, you have to go. The Golden Wolf King suddenly despaired. But, Qin Feiyong said again. But what? The Golden Wolf King perked up and looked at Qin Feiyong expectantly. Qin Feiyong let out a long breath and said, I'll try my best to ensure your safety. Just try your best? The Golden Wolf King collapsed again, his eyes full of disappointment. Take it, let's go. Qin Feiyong said. You're not allowed to take Master Golden Wolf King away. Before he finished speaking, the ghost wolves around rushed forward and blocked in front of Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows and a murderous aura surged. Seeing that the situation was not good, the Golden Wolf King hurriedly got up and shouted, Back down! Master. The ghost wolves were extremely anxious. I don't care if I die, but you can't die. Back down. The Golden Wolf King shouted. The ghost wolves looked at each other and finally silently retreated to the side. From now on, the Silver Wolf King is your only leader, and you have to listen to his arrangements. By the way, tell him not to avenge me. The Golden Wolf King sighed. The wolves looked at the Golden Wolf King with sad expressions. The Golden Wolf King sighed and looked at Qin Feiyong. Promise me one thing, don't hurt them. Qin Feiyong nodded. The Golden Wolf King looked at the wolves reluctantly, took a deep breath and shouted, Then let's go. It stood up, held its head high, and strode in front of Qin Feiyong, like a hero who was going to die for a righteous cause. It was valiant and high-spirited, making people not know whether to laugh or cry. Howl. But suddenly, the howls of wolves could be heard from afar as they drew closer and closer. Qin Feiyong was stunned. He was no stranger to this wolf howl. It was the ghost wolves sending messages. At the same time, hearing these wolf howls, the wolves also became restless. The Golden Wolf King also stopped in its tracks, its eyes glinting. What's going on? The Scorpion King and the other beasts were surprised. Haha. The Golden Wolf King suddenly looked up to the sky and laughed, as if he had encountered a great thing. He shouted excitedly, The heavens don't want me to die, the heavens don't want me to die. Qin Feiyong frowned, and an uneasy premonition arose in his heart. The Golden Wolf King suddenly stopped laughing, lowered his head, and looked at Qin Feiyong, and said jokingly, Do you know what news my tribesmen sent? Speak. Qin Feiyong said. A few of my tribesmen captured 2 humans, and they said that those 2 humans know you. How can there be such a coincidence in this world? The Golden Wolf King laughed. 2 humans? They know me. Qin Feiyong frowned. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.